This is the Patriots Catch-22 podcast with Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
I'm Evan Lazar. Evan Lazar.
Hello, everybody.
Nailed it. Joined as always by Alex Barth.
That's a fit. That's a match.
No risk it, no biscuit.
22.
Here is Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
Nothing you do after that matters, right?
Yeah.
The microphone can be over here, Evan. We can do a great podcast, but it's going to sound like crap because we're not lined up correctly. So hopefully people could hear that. I try to project a little more to make my point, but that is my point. Like, you see what I'm doing? That came through? We're good? Yeah, all right, perfect.
You made me chuckle legitimately on that. Sometimes I laugh just to laugh.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I wish that I didn't just do that sometimes, but that time that was actually a funny point about you. What was the thing you were saying before the show? Water
everywhere, but not a drop to drink. That's like a famous line.
From what, 1923? Like
Maybe, I don't know.
Like I that's the part that I just sometimes you just say things like this to me where I'm just like
From 1834.
You're
That's like a
technically-
famous thing, though.
You're technically younger than I am, but
Yes.
you will just like pull these things out where I'm just like, what generation are you from? Anyways,
Because I'm entrenched in the zeitgeist. I know what's going on.
what is that even supposed to mean?
I made sense in my head.
Okay. All right. Well, hello, everybody. Patriots Catch-22 here with you for the next couple of hours. Evan Lazar, Alex Barth. Very weird start to the show, but I just can't get over these little sayings and phrases that Alex just pulls out of nowhere sometimes. So we're going to talk a lot of Bengals, a lot of Patriots Bengals. We're going to talk a little bit about the league as a whole. Maybe in the second hour of the show, make some predictions. I like those this time of year. Some MVP predictions, rookie of the year, that kind of stuff. So we'll get to that. Before we do, hey, Patriots fans, if you want to see Toyota's best offers, including those not seen on TV, go to buyatoyota.com. It's Toyota's official website for deals from the official vehicle of the New England Patriots. Toyota, let's go places. And I'm sure many of you on Sunday will be easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the New England Patriots. All right, I want to start off talking Patriots Bengals and week one here for the Patriots and this team and this regime, this era. And look, we all have concerns about this football team right now. We all are realists. We all understand where this team is. But I, for one, am so relieved that we are actually going to play a real game on Sunday and get to see what this all looks like, because if I have to hear one more hypothetical or one more prediction or one more just they're only going to win 4 games, like, let's see what it looks like on the field. So as much as I understand that the bigger picture of the team right now is probably more on everybody's mind and the direction of the GM and the coach and Drake Maye and all that kind of stuff. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see what this team is made of on the field. Maybe they take us all by surprise. That being said, I would pick them to probably win 5 or 6 games right now if I had to, but I'm just so relieved that the crystal ball aspect is soon to be over and we can see what it really looks like, because none of us really know at the end of the day what it's actually going to look like on the field. And I feel like right now there's only one path to everybody, and that is top 3 pick again. And we're going to, might as well start talking about Will Campbell and Travis Hunter today, because it doesn't matter what the next 6 months have.
First of all, I think you mean Will Campbell and T-Mac, Ted McMillan.
Yeah.
But no, I'm with you. Look, if we knew it was going to happen, we wouldn't play the games.
Yeah.
That's what makes it fun. Any given Sunday, all of that. That's why we do this, because the NFL is as unpredictable in football is as unpredictable a sport as there is out there. You're not playing a best of 3, best of 5 series. You're not playing 80 or 100 games. You get once a week, 1 game to prove you're better. If you have an off day, you don't get to come back out and make up for it tomorrow. And that's what's really exciting about this is, there's a plan. It was executed. I think between the two of us, we agree with some parts of the plan. There's other parts that we're maybe a little more hesitant about, but it's just that we're speculating, and now we actually get to see this plan in motion.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. And I just really feel as though right now in my lifetime, and I'm not talking about, there were seasons 2000, some of the seasons in the 90s where maybe it was, Rod Rust year.
Well, that
stuff
is
like
your
that.
lifetime.
Yes,
As
but
you
I'm
said, you are
talking
older
about
than
my actual football consumption, not when I was 4 years old watching the Patriots in my pajamas, right? Like I'm talking about actually knowing the game of football. This is the most doom and gloom season before it's even kicked off that I can remember. Everybody in the world thinks the Patriots are going to stink, right? Like that is just the absolute consensus. And I'm not saying that I don't necessarily agree with it. I'm just excited to see what this team is actually made of. And this is one of those years, too, where there's going to be individual players and individual things that we can cling on to. And, okay, this player is a pillar. Like, this player is a building block moving forward. You know, Christian Gonzalez, Jalen Polk, you know, one of those players. Maybe one of those guys is a pillar of the next great Patriots team that they find out this year. You know, Keon White, Pop Douglas. So it might not be about wins and losses on the scoreboard all season long, but I do hope that we get some of that where we can come away from games and say, yeah, the Bengals were the better team and they won 23-20 or whatever, but Gonzalez held his own against Jamar Chase and Pop Douglas had a good game and so on and so forth.
Yeah, this season's all about progress, and especially from those younger guys, and you just mentioned, too, it's really these last two draft classes. This year's draft class is foundational, in theory, with the rebuild, but if you can get production from Christian Gonzalez, you can get production from Keon White, City So, once he's healthy, if he shows you he can be a starting guard, like, it just checks boxes that you don't have to deal with down the road. So we're going to talk a lot about progress, and progress isn't linear, but we're going to talk a lot about progress and projections this year, more than necessarily the individual results game to game.
All right. With that being said, I do want to talk a little bit about this matchup on Sunday.
Yep.
And I do feel oddly like the Patriots can compete in this game. I think the main reason why I feel that way is this is essentially, for the offensive side of the ball, a division game. Like, Alex Van Pelt knows this team better than just about any other team that they could have drawn in week one on their schedule this year, because he literally just spent 4 years playing these guys twice a year. And it's been Van Pelt and Stefanski against Lou Anarumo for 4 years. Like, it's just nothing has really changed about all of that. So there's some things, and you go back to 2022, Jacoby Brissett. I know we've talked a lot about that game already on here. When you go back to that game, the Browns rolled that day. It was 32-13 Cleveland in that game. Now, do I think that's going to happen on Sunday? No, but those are always the games that you look back on, especially week one, and you start to pull things like, what did we do well in that game? What it was, how did we win? How did we move the ball that day? What were some of the schemes instead of the plays that we called a lot? Now, big picture, as much as it pains me, because you know that I have no care in the world for the run game. None. Yeah. As much as it pains me, big picture, it does come back a lot to the run game, at least being there to set up play action pass and let this whole system that Alex Van Pelt is trying to install take flight. If they can't run the ball at all, and it's not, they don't have to run it for 5 yards a carry, right? But like, if they can't get over 3 yards a carry and just have some semblance of a run game. I was listening to Brian Hoyer.
3.4. You just got to average over 3.4 yards a carry.
Yeah, I was listening to Brian Hoyer with Andrews. They just started a podcast yesterday. And
crazy David Andrews, a podcast. Like, I'm sure there was that one clip. There's that one clip where they talked about Andrews making reads in the centers in the West Coast offense, and Hoyer was, this is really good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just didn't picture David Andrews as a podcaster, but it looks good early on.
Yeah, so Brian Hoyer was in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
And he said that Kyle Shanahan's goal every single game was to run the ball 30 times or more. And his reasoning was not necessarily that they wanted to run the ball 30 times to establish the run in some identity and be the tougher football team. It was really because everything in the pass game, especially on first and second down, was married to the run game. So if they could get to that 30 carry mark, they felt like they could open up the play action pass plays down the field. When you watch this tape from 2022 between the Browns and the Bengals with Jacoby Brissett as the starter for Cleveland, they ran the ball 44 times in that game.
Yeah.
But they really made their hay with the play action passes and the explosives off of the run game. That was really where the big plays came into play. So there was a lot of just day one install type of stuff on that film. Like they hit David Moore. Remember David Moore from Purdue?
Yeah.
The receiver? Yeah, they hit him on a
Did he
shallow.
run like a 4.740 at the combine or something? Yeah.
They hit him on a shallow crosser early on in the game. That was the exact same play that Drake Maye hit Jalen Polk on in the preseason finale against Washington. Like the exact same play. So those plays are on this film. They ran the ball successfully. They were able to attack man coverage, single high coverage down the field successfully. Now, a lot of that went to Amari Cooper. The Patriots don't have an Amari Cooper, and the Browns obviously had a better offensive line than the Patriots do. But that's sort of where I wanted to go next with this. As much as it pains me to admit, the run game is a big part of what they're going to do this year, and that it's a very important part of this entire offense and this scheme and system and whatever.
Did you mean David Bell?
Yeah, what did I say?
Okay, David Moore.
Oh, David Bell. Yeah.
David Moore ran a 4.4340.
Got those confused.
Bell ran a 4.65.
The biggest question, though, and I wanted to talk about this because we have seen a little bit of it at practice, is the offensive line. Like, you can run the ball with an okay back and a great offensive line. You can't, even if your back is really special, it's hard to run the ball if you don't have a good offensive line. The Browns obviously did. They also went tackle eligible a lot in that game in 2022. They did it 22 times in that game between the Browns and the Bengals. So that could be a big part of it as well. And not only do you use that tackle eligible, the extra offensive lineman to block, but you also can use him in pass protection. And now you have 6-7 man pass protections to allow the quarterback some more time in the pocket to push it down the field. That was the game plan then. Now that I've laid that out, I guess, what do you feel like is replicable and what isn't? Because to me, I look at it and say, well, my biggest question is if they can run the ball, because the Cleveland was able to run the ball.
Right. Yeah, I said this to you after Mayo talked on Wednesday. They're going to run the ball, run it again, run it some more, and then when you think they're done running the ball, they're going to keep running it. That's kind of what Gerard Mayo made it sound like. And I talked to Mike Petralia, who covers the Bengals, a friend of ours, yesterday, who said that's kind of the Bengals. That's going to keep the Bengals up at night. That what Gerard Mayo said should keep Zach Taylor up at night because the Bengals have struggled to stop the run. They put a lot of resources this offseason, adding guys, Sheldon Rankins, the big addition, into fortifying that defensive front, but they tried to do it. Like, we'll see if it actually works. The Bengals have really struggled against the run. And if the Patriots are just going to come out and run the ball, do the Bengals then have to stack the box? And if they're doing that, it's going to open up opportunities for the Patriots to throw the ball off play action. So that does feel like it's the plan. But again, like I said to you, get ready to watch them run the ball a lot. And this is something these West Coast coaches do and these guys from the Shanahan tree do. Even if it's not going to work, even if it's not working, they will keep running.
Yeah.
They will keep running because the idea is, well, it doesn't matter if we're gaining yards. We're trying to set this up. And you need to find the balancing point there. And not every coach does, but like, I don't think they're going to be deterred one way or the other. I think they're going to, like, 30, 35 runs sounds about right.
Yeah, it's a good point. That was another point that Hoyer made, was that Shanahan didn't care about the success of the run game as much as maybe some other people would, and whereas he wouldn't abandon it, is what I mean, because even if they were only going at 2.5, 3 yards a carry, the idea was to set everything else up. So It wasn't necessarily about just the pure success of the run game. I'm just really fascinated as a whole to see if this wide zone scheme sticks or not for the Patriots. And notoriously speaking, like over the course of like these systems and all this, even going all the way back to like the Broncos, in the 1990s when like they really ran a ton of wide zone with the Mike Shanahan and that whole coaching staff. It doesn't happen overnight a lot of the time. Like the wide zone scheme is something that gets drilled over time. And some people actually say it could take a full year before you actually have it going the way that you want it going. And the other part of that is just like you can call it stubbornness if you want. But the main thing is that they stick to it. Like they are not, in my mind, I don't think Alex Van Pelt is going to look at it and like completely throw it out 2 weeks into the season because they can't run the ball with wide zone. He's going to say by week 15, by week 16, we'll be running the ball with wide zone. Where these are growing pains. And that could lead to some frustrating moments early on in the season, but they feel strongly, that tree feels strongly about the fact that it will eventually click. Like it'll eventually
They're
get
very
there.
strong-headed.
Yeah. And I just, the whole thing fascinates me because I'm not sure if they have the the horses for it. Like, I'm not really sure the personnel is a great fit for it on the offensive line. But everything that they do in the pass game and play action, especially on first and second down, is built off of this working. So whether it's outside zone, whether it's pin pull, inside zone, those are kind of trap is like the one gap scheme that they'll run. Those are like some of the things that they like to do, and all of it is married together. So if you aren't able to be successful in wide zone, then I don't know what the pivot is for this coaching staff, and my guess is it's going to be head down and just hope that it eventually clicks.
I think so too.
So let's get into the defense side of the ball, then we'll do some key matchups, and then we'll open the phone lines and all that kind of stuff, emails, and then we got some season predictions, both Patriots and league-wide predictions as well. But I want to talk about defense. I think the biggest thing with the defense that I have just philosophically is the matchup in 2022. Again, this is Patriots-Bengals now we're talking about, Week 16. The Patriots played 82% of their dropbacks in zone coverage in that game. Remember who the three corners were? The starting corners?
So I remember Marcus Jones was one because you had 5'8" Marcus Jones on 6'5" T. Higgins.
Yeah.
John Jones was hurt a lot during that season. Did he play in that game?
He played.
And then Miles Bryant.
Yeah. So all three guys were under 5'9".
Yeah.
Right. And what the Patriots did was they played a lot of two deep zone, which they didn't normally do a ton of under Belichick. But next gen goes all the way back to 2016. That game is the most dropbacks the Patriots had ever played in two deep zone in 8 years under Bill Belichick. And part of it was because of the corners, right? You have that kind of personnel. You have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, both guys that can really win at the catch point. You don't want to put those guys on islands, right, with the taller receivers and the bigger receivers. Now, the question that I have for this regime and for DeMarcus Covington is you do have Christian Gonzalez now. You do have Marco Wilson, Alex Austin, some guys that you can throw in there that have a little bit more size and a little bit more length. Do you feel comfortable playing some man coverage, playing some 5-6 guys in the back end? Because I feel like they want to be more like those 18-19 Brian Flores Patriots, right, where they're coming after quarterbacks and they're 5-0, 5-man rushes, cover zero rush, like that sort of stuff. But they had prime Stephon Gilmore. We always talk about, J.C. Jackson, the Jason McCourty, role and all that. They had great secondary players back then. If they're going to do that, it's going to put a lot of stress on the back end to hold up in man coverage on their own. But it does feel like they have to manufacture pass rush. Like, I don't know if they, now without Judon and Barmore, they don't have those guys anymore that can just win one-on-one in a 4-man rush. So 2022, it was a lot of 4-man rush. It was a lot of drop 7 into cover 2. And they just relied on Barmore and Judon to win some one-on-ones to get some pass rush going. Do you think that they're at a point now where they believe in Gonzo enough that they say, whether it's Higgins or Chase, and we can get into which one he matches up against, we feel like you're Stephon Gilmore, Darrelle Revis, Ty Law, where we're just going to give you one of those guys, and that's how we're going to roll.
Well, I think they kind of have to, right? I think that they're at the point where their pass rush is or their defensive front is, or they kind of have to give that a shot. Now, I wonder if they do the old Belichick thing where it's Gonzalez on Higgins and then John Jones or whoever on Jamar Chase with help over the top. But you took this guy in the first round, and Gonzalez, I'm talking about Gonzalez, took him in the first round.
Yep.
Has the prototype of being a number one corner, showed flashes of that last year. You're going to need a cover for longer than the average team because the pass rush isn't going to be there. You got to at least try it and see if it works, because if they can't hold up in coverage like that with Gonzalez winning one-on-ones, the whole picture gets a lot murkier defensively. So, yeah, I think they have to give that a shot.
That's where I think we're headed. Now, is it week 1 against the Bengals with those two receivers, assuming it looks like Jamar Chase is trending towards playing in this game on Sunday? I don't know, but they're going to have to trust the back end, because to me the strength is Gonzo, John Jones, and the two safeties, Peppers and Duggar. Like, that's now the strength of your defense. So I'm excited to see that. That, to me, not only has the bend not break stuff been kind of tedious to watch, but last year, especially, the turnover started to dry up. And usually when you look at turnover numbers, it's all predicated on getting pressure on the quarterback. If you're not disrupting the quarterback and he's throwing from clean pockets, you're going to have fewer turnovers. So if they can get after the quarterback a little bit more this year, exotically up front, then maybe they do start to turn the ball over a little bit more, and that's optimistic. What would you do with Christian Gonzalez?
Like I said before, I think I'd put him on Higgins.
Yeah.
And go John Jones with help on Chase. One, I just think Gonzalez on Higgins is a better matchup, and you get John Jones' speed over on Chase's side. Chase a little bit faster, so I'd go that way.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's Marcus Jones on. Do we know who they're gonna? It's not gonna be Jermaine Burton in the slot.
No, it's gonna be probably Charlie Jones or Iosovas, I think is how you say his name.
I trust Marcus Jones in either of those matchups.
Yeah, Iosovas is a little bit bigger. Like he's not like a 5'8" slot receiver.
Yeah, but I saw Marcus Jones hold his own against T. Higgins 2 years ago in this exact matchup. So
yeah,
he's also not like big. I know he's not small, but he's not like big.
I want to say he's like 5'11", 6 feet.
He's 6'3".
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay, I didn't think.
I thought
he doesn't play that big.
Yeah, I thought he was even shorter than that. So I knew he was like 6 foot. I didn't realize he was. 6'3".
I thought he was like 6 foot, maybe 6'1".
Yeah,
and 212 too. He doesn't look like he's 212.
Well,
all right.
I guess he is. I'm with you with Gonzalez. I feel like T. Higgins is like a decent matchup for him. It's a really good receiver, but T. Higgins is not tier 1 Jamar Chase level where you're taking him on an island for 4 quarters. That's a lot to ask.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase with help over the top from Jonathan Jones, something along those lines makes the most sense. They play, they've played some cloud. They've played some they have a guy on the line of scrimmage that'll jam him, and then they'll rotate the safety over to that side of the field over the top and kind of high-low him in that way. They can bracket. They obviously have all their bracket calls and things like that they could run at Chase. You feel like it's almost like a box and one, right? Where right. Gonzalez has Higgins one-on-one, and that way there you could do all the different exotic stuff to Jamar Chase, whether it's a bracket, whether it's putting a safety up over the top of him, or whatever the case may be. Even just those looks from a quarterback perspective could get Joe Burrow to move off of him, even if he's open. It's sometimes hard for quarterbacks, especially like Burrow, who just wants to throw to the open guy. It's hard for those guys to really lock on like that because, well, they're bracket coveraging him. That means somebody else is one-on-one somewhere else. Why would I throw it into double coverage, right? So that's what I would do as well. I meant to bring up the offensive line in a little bit more detail because we did see what we think is going to be the starting offensive line out at practice today. So let's go back to that real quick, and then we'll do the rest of our key. Gonzalez was one of my key matchups.
Okay.
I don't know if he was one of yours.
Yeah.
Offensive line real quickly. Right now, if I had to guess on Thursday at 2:30, we'll go from left to right. Chukwuekwor for left tackle. Michael Jordan, practice squad elevation start.
So they've worked Leverett there too a bit. I wonder if they're getting Jordan ready in case something happens to Andrews, if the plan is for Leverett to go in a center and Jordan is essentially the backup guard. I think he's getting elevated. They're practicing like he's getting elevated.
So let's call it a rotation now between Leverett and Michael Jordan at left guard.
Yeah.
David Andrews obviously at center. Layden Robinson right guard. Mike Onwenu right tackle. To me, it's bad, right?
Yeah.
But the one thing I do feel good about for them going in is that right side of the line of scrimmage. I know you're counting a lot on a rookie in Layden Robinson, but if you can get him and Mike Onwenu downhill on some of those combination blocks, that's something that you feel okay about, that maybe they can run over the right side a little bit with those two guys. That to me is always the easiest too for rookies, especially. Just go hit somebody, right? Don't get into all the finesse stuff and all the technique stuff in pass pro as much as you can, and just come off the ball and hit someone. That to me is always the easiest thing to ask rookies to do when they come in out of the gate. So if I had to hang my hat on anything with this, it would be that. That left side is very, very dubious. That is a weak left side.
I just don't understand. And you mentioned rotation there, and I actually think that's a good way to put it. Because we saw Bill do this, and we see other NFL teams do this week one, even really through the first month. They'll rotate some linemen just for conditioning reasons.
Yeah.
But, so you're going to have a rotation at right guard with two guys that are probably backups. And then I just don't know how you can put Chuks Okorafor back at left tackle. Well, let me say this. I think it's really, really tough to have to put Chuks Okorafor back at left tackle after what he showed last week.
Yeah.
The reason I didn't want to say I don't know how you can is because I know how you can. Because
all
he's
you got.
still the best option. Like, it's basically...
Healthy option.
Healthy. Yeah, obviously. But Vidarian Lowe looked limited today. Now, he was in full uniform, so I think that's encouraging.
Yeah, he's doing some stuff.
And if they get Lowe back, that helps. But it's that or Caden Wallace. And I've said this. I like Caden Wallace, but I like him as a right tackle. I don't think having him make this move, especially now when he hasn't been practicing, like... And that's the other thing. What happens if Chuks Okorafor gets hurt? Where are you going from there? Is it then Caden Wallace? Are they going to elevate Caleb Jones from the practice squad and have 2 offensive line elevations?
Yeah.
I wouldn't rule that out at all. Although I would like to have Isaiah Bolden, knowing now how big Iasovis is in the slot. But, I just... Chuks Okorafor had his worst performance of the summer when you put him at left tackle. And now he's back there week 1, and that's really concerning.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand that it's not good, and they don't have a lot of good options at left tackle. So I want to get that.
They don't really have options, period.
I want to get that out of the way, because when I get on my soapbox and I defend Vidarian Lowe a little bit, I think a lot of people take it the wrong way and assume that I'm saying that he's like Joe Thomas in his prime, right? This is not a good roster construction that he's your best option. Like, that's on Elliott Wolf, right? We've been over this. We don't have to beat a dead horse.
Right.
But that's on Elliott Wolf, that Vidarian Lowe and Chuks Okorafor, 2 guys that really haven't played a ton in the NFL at left tackle, are your best options at left tackle. So,
well, okay, Lowe has. For a second, I thought you said Okorafor and Wallace. I was going to say neither one's played left tackle.
No, Lowe's played a little bit.
Lowe's played a little bit. You're right, last year.
So, Vidarian Lowe, to me, is still their best option at left tackle, simply because I feel like he looks the most comfortable over there. Is he a dynamic?
Well, he is the only actual left tackle. He should look the most comfortable over there.
Right. Is he a dynamic blocker? No. Like, he's not a very good player, but he's their best option. And I still hope that they can get back on the offensive line to Vidarian Lowe, Sidiso, David Andrews, Layden Robinson, Onwenu, or some combination of the sort with those 5 guys. That, to me, especially with Chuks being back on the right side, is their best 5.
Yeah, and then you get to put Onwenu back in at guard.
Yeah, maybe you put him back in at guard, and you have Chuks at right, Vidarian at left, and then Robinson and So are kind of competing at left guard. That's sort of an ongoing competition. That's their best 5.
Do you put, and I mean, this is going beyond the Bengals game. Obviously, this isn't for this week. You make anything out of that Caleb Jones signing?
Not really. I don't really ever put too much stock into those types of moves, waiver wire guys, practice squad signings, things like that. I really feel as though they have seen some real progress from Vidarian Lowe. Now he's got to be healthy. That's an obvious thing. But his ability to use his length, he does have like 35-inch arms. Like, he's got legit length at tackle. His ability to use his length, and he just needs to be more consistent. Like, what he really has is like 2 or 3 blocks a game in the preseason where you're just like, what the heck was that? Right? Like, he has those moments that are bad. Don't get me wrong. But over the course of 4 quarters, like if he plays 70 snaps, they're going to be 2 or 3. And this always drives me nuts because it's like, this is going to happen sometimes.
Yeah.
There's going to be 2 or 3 really bad beats. And we're, just like the sack against the Eagles, in the preseason game. There's going to be 2 or 3 really bad beats from Vidarian Lowe every single week. But then when you watch like the other 66 reps that he takes, they're all okay. Like not great, but okay. Like he treads water for the most part on all those reps, but the bad ones are bad. And for right now, I would just take that over a guy that can't even line up right when he plays left tackle.
I mean, where I'm at on that. Just on Jones, just to go back to Jones real quick. Guy who had a good preseason, and obviously 6'9", 370, and that might be
he's definitely
an
a big
underestimate having stood next to him. I go back to something Gerard Mayo said at the end of camp. He was specifically asked about the offensive line and said, we're still trying to get better. We're just trying to get better. at not only the starting five that we're talking about, but also on the practice squad. That's how we look at the practice squad as well. These guys aren't here on our practice squad just to take reps during practice. No, we look at it from a developmental standpoint where all these guys need to be ready to play. So this isn't, I don't think they view the practice squad as bodies for the scout team. I think they view the practice squad as essentially, maybe minor league's the wrong word, but like guys they want to work with, guys they want to see what's there. To me, Caleb Jones kind of is a factor. And not for week one, like he hasn't been here long enough, but given just how few actual left tackles they have. It's really one.
Yeah.
Vidarian Lowe is the only real actual left tackle they have. Caleb Jones has played left tackle in the NFL in the preseason. That's not a lot, but if they're going to use the practice squad to develop players and they have essentially zero depth at left tackle, maybe there's a chance we see Caleb Jones at some point if he makes progress. So I don't know how that's going to look. Like, again, he's been in the NFL for 2 years. He's played one regular season snap. It was on special teams. I don't know how that's going to look, but I feel like the fact they brought him in, all right, let's see if they can work with him. Let's see if they can get something out of him. Like, I know
it's absolutely nuts to me that this is where they're at.
I know you just said, I know, and I'm with you. Yeah. But I know you just said that, you don't look at the practice squad signings and the waiver claims as much. And
the past, it just is never, 9 times out of 10, it amounts to nothing.
Correct.
So you have to keep that in mind.
I give you that. But, and I guess he was a trade acquisition, but isn't that essentially what Vidarian Lowe was last year? Yeah. Just kind of a late, really out there flyer on a guy who hadn't played, and here we are a year later. He's the starting left tackle, or if he's healthy, he's the starting left tackle. So
but that shouldn't be the case. Like
absolutely, absolutely. But I'm just saying, like, as we try to get through this season, and this goes back to your point off the top of the show, we're not doing hypotheticals. We're not doing big picture. We're looking week to week, and maybe I'm getting a little ahead of where we're at with the Bengals. But I'm not bringing up Curtis Jacobs, who's a linebacker who they claimed off waivers. I'm not bringing up some of the other guys they signed to the practice squad, like Matt Landers or O'Shawn Mathis, or these guys that play positions where they have depth. Vidarian Lowe was kind of a last-second flyer last year who became the starting left tackle. Even if it's not, like, good enough. All right, they bring Caleb Jones in now. If Vidarian Lowe struggles, like, I guess, okay. I'm talking this through in real time.
I hear what you're saying.
Do you think there's a chance Vidarian Lowe plays poorly, but they leave him in simply because they feel they have no better option? And do you think Caleb Jones could get to the point where he's not going to be a long-term fix, but, all right, we need to get Vidarian Lowe out. We at least feel comfortable giving this guy a shot.
It's possible. I've seen enough out of Vidarian Lowe that he is their clear-cut best option at left tackle right now. Yeah. So something would have to go on behind the scenes with Caleb Jones that he really came on.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, how? But is it an unrealistic gap?
Is it unrealistic? No, because we're not talking about prime Joe Thomas.
That's what I'm saying.
Here,
like,
right?
Where's the bar?
It's possible. I just look at him and I would say, you mentioned Caleb Jones. I would say the same thing with Trey Jacobs, who I thought had some decent preseason.
That was the other tackle. Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Trey Jacobs too.
Trey Jacobs really. What stood out most about him when some of the games that I watched of his was his athleticism in space. Like, this is a guy that can really get out and move and block laterally and block in space, which is what this offense is going to be asking them to do a lot at the tackle position in the run game. So, could both those guys push Vidarian Lowe at some point? Yeah. My only little rebuttal to that would be, I would hope that Caden Wallace is the one that's pushing him.
I still think he's a right tackle, and I want them to develop him at right tackle. I want him to push Chukes Okorafor.
What a mess. Yeah.
And I shouldn't have left out Jacobs. That's a good point by you. I would include him. I just have Caleb Jones because they just signed him, but
he is a monster of a man.
He's hard to get out of your head. If people are going to call in or talk about, like, Vidarian Lowe can't be the guy, like, I'm always big on this. Anytime you want to talk about benching a player, you have to give me an alternative.
Yeah.
You can't just say, take him out. No, we're not going to play with 10 guys. Like, who's going in?
Right.
The help's not coming externally. So at this point, if you need a replacement left tackle, I know Caden Wallace maybe, but I think these are the guys we're talking about, Trey Jacobs and Caleb Jones.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I didn't want to come into this show and do the whole, your station thing and start getting all mad about the left tackle situation. But it has to be said that the fact that this is what we're talking about heading into week one, and the fact that they really just left themselves high and dry at the position for a year is mind-blowing.
It's inexcusable. It's inexcusable.
They don't have anybody with real NFL experience that's ever played left tackle in the league before. Like, Vidarian Lowe is the closest thing that they have to that, and it's like maybe 3 or 4 starts or something like that from last year at left tackle. Like, that's think about that. They have nobody on the team that has made any significant amount of playing time, has had any significant amount of playing time at left tackle.
And nobody was asking them to, go out and get their future franchise left tackle this offseason. I mean, like, it would have been great, but they had so many needs. They weren't going to be able to address every single one to that extent. But, bridge players. Jermaine Illuminor was out there. What happened to Justin Herron? Like, Justin Herron is kind of the exact guy they need. Maybe a guy they gave up on too early. Actually, I looked this up. I think he was hurt last year. So maybe that's why. But, like, just a bridge tackle, a guy who's played in this league. Justin Herron suffered a knee injury late last year, so maybe that's why.
Yeah.
And he was placed on injured reserve on July 28th. So
I wanted also with the whole tackle thing, let's not rid Belichick of blame of that because
this is we've been through this going back to
problem.
Nate Solder. We've done the timeline.
Right.
And Isaiah Wynn and Trent Brown being a stopgap so they could focus on other positions. Like, this goes back years.
As much as we can sit here and say that it wasn't good procedure or whatever you want to call it, wasn't good GMing by Elliott Wolf to go this route this offseason, to me it's even more inexcusable that they didn't draft a tackle last year in 2023.
Yeah, well,
if you put and look, maybe Marty Mapu gets healthy and he ends up Marte Mapu, excuse me, I should say his name correctly. Maybe he gets healthy and ends up being a decent player for them. But it doesn't help that he also hasn't really made an impact on the team as a top 100 pick. If you just took Marte Mapu out and put an actual left tackle into that spot, then at least you have, along with Caden Wallace, you have like 2 young tackles now that you're developing, even if the guy isn't a day one answer at the position. I understand that they're the Kansas City Chiefs, and we went through this with the Patriots with Tom Brady, where it's easy to just kind of plug rookies in some spots or plug guys in from the street and make it look a whole lot better because you have the greatest quarterback of all time. But the Chiefs are going to start off the season tonight with Kingsley Suamaitai as their starting left tackle, a guy that the Patriots could have had in the draft. And he is going to start day one for Kansas City. He's going to be good. He's going to be a good player for them. And that to me is the second guess of the draft. Like, that was the move. The move was to trade up, give up the Javon Baker pick, and go up and get a guy like Kingsley,
Patrick Paul, even Blake Fisher. Yeah. It will. To your point about, like, it's on Bill as well as Wolf. I mean, look, I would think a big part of the reason Bill isn't here, and not directly, but, like, part of the reason Bill's not here was his failure to address the tackle situation.
Yeah.
How do you see the last guy move on because he didn't address tackle and then come in and not address tackle?
Right. I'm just looking up right now really quickly. So they took Mapu 76th overall. The next tackle off the board is actually, ironically, also in Kansas City, was Wanya Morris, who is probably more of a right tackle.
Yeah, he's a right tackle.
Than a left tackle. But you have guys like Wanya Morris. I really like Nick Saldiveri, who went with the very first pick of the 4th round.
I remember that,
yeah. He played left tackle in college.
Blake Freeland talked about.
And obviously DeJuan.
DeJuan Jones is the one that.
Who was also a right tackle, to be fair.
Did he play some left?
He probably could.
But here's the thing. If you had a right tackle, even if you had a right tackle, no, never mind. I got my wires crossed there. But no, even if you had a right tackle, you could at least be playing Mike Onwenu at guard now and have that solidified. You still have the issue at left tackle, but it's one less spot. The other thing I'll say about the Marte Mapu pick was, remember that year we all thought they were going to end up making trades because they just had too many picks and they ended up making all of them anyway?
Yeah.
So could they have traded up? I'm actually looking up. Only one tackle went in the 3rd round before Mapu, and it's like 15 picks earlier.
Yeah.
And it's Tyler Steen, who I don't think has been great.
Also kind of a guard.
Right. So, all right. There maybe wasn't a tackle to trade up for. But
I don't know if there's a tackle to trade up for, but the second guess is certainly taking Mapu and taking Jake Andrews when DeJuan, Blake Freeland,
Yeah.
Wanya Morris. Like, there were some tackles that went in that range of the draft. And at least, again, like, I don't know if those guys, I keep on using Joe Thomas, like, I don't know if those guys were going to be franchise left tackles in the league, but at least it was another developmental player to have in the pipeline.
Right.
And that's the whole point of the draft, is to just keep on trying to replenish positions and maintain depth and all that kind of stuff. All right, let's do key matchups. We don't have to cry about the tackle situation any longer.
Yeah, Evan opens the show saying, we have a game week. It will be a different show now. And then we just complain about tackles.
I mean,
it's
just
like
it's
we've
just
done
so,
since what? Basically since the show started.
I didn't even bring up the fact that Drake Maye would probably be starting on Sunday if they had a viable left tackle, but that's besides the point.
I have a take on that.
Okay.
I don't think he would. And I'm not saying that's right. I actually do I think he'd be starting sooner. I think they always wanted to start Jacoby Brissett week 1.
Yeah.
That's just me.
So my take on it is about the same.
Yeah.
I would say that they went into the season, into training camp, I should say, not 100% sure of whether or not Drake Maye was going to be able to play year 1 because of the developmental aspect and all that stuff. Once they got into training camp, and especially once we got into the latter part of training camp,
preseason,
of course, Gerard Mayo outplayed Jacoby Brissett, right? Like, like that, those comments. It became clear that Drake was pushing to start year 1.
Yeah.
So now it went from the full Green Bay Packer model to maybe like an abbreviated version of the Green Bay Packer model, but they always seem to want some semblance of holding the clipboard. So maybe we're still I still feel like we're in like the 4 to 8 week range for him to get in there, but it's not going to be right away.
Once we get past Halloween, I've used Halloween as that date, right?
Yeah.
Once we get past like week 8, week 9, if he's still not starting, that's when it will primarily become about the offensive line to me.
Yeah.
I don't think the offensive line isn't a factor right now. I don't think it's the biggest factor. If we get to late October, early November, they're still not winning games and Drake Maye's not out there, like, we saw the progress he was making, and they're going to go behind closed doors now. But, like, realistically, if he continues on that same trajectory, he's going to clearly pass Brissett in a month, 6 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
So at that point, it's okay.
Jacoby.
What else is going on?
I feel for Jacoby a little bit
too.
because I think a lot of people are not hoping or wishing or any sort of thing like that. A lot of people are expecting an injury to open the door. Right, and maybe this is some Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady stuff, right? That we all live through that, and that's where our heads are at sometimes, even without knowing it. I also seem to hear a lot about Tyrod Taylor and his poor issue with the needle, right? And that opened the door for Justin Herbert to start earlier than maybe the Chargers expected. I feel for Jacoby Brissett because he's in a position now where the first sign of trouble, it's Drake Maye, right? Like, that's what's going to be on everybody's mind. But also there's, like, a little bit of that going on, too, where it's like, well, if he, like, gets, dinged up in there, it's not, like, the worst thing because then we can, turn this over to Drake. I definitely feel like the front office and the decision makers in this organization, Mayo, Wolf, are thinking it's best to sit a young quarterback at first.
Yeah.
And let's bring him along slowly. Let's let him develop behind the scenes behind Jacoby. And when he's 100% ready, he'll play. But not at 90, not at 95. He's got to be 100.
Unless Jacoby Brissett gets hurt.
Unless Jacoby Brissett gets hurt.
Which they kind of let us know.
And then I guess we're into a case where it's probably like an abbreviated playbook and like that sort of thing is the direction that they go in. All right. Key matchups. We talked a little bit about Gonzo. That was my first one. Yeah. I put down Gonzo versus T. Higgins. I really feel like that's going to be what they decide to do, is put him on Higgins. It's the old number 2 in the double the number 1 thing, right? Just hope that he can take Higgins. He's not going to erase Higgins from the game, I don't think, but at least let's hope that he can
limit the damage.
Yep. And whatever one-on-one catches you give up to T. Higgins, you kind of have to live with, and then you hope that you can really take Jamar Chase out of the game with scheme.
I think the big tests, assuming Gonzalez is on Higgins, which I think we both think is going to happen, right?
Yes.
Tackling.
Yeah.
Tackling was kind of the big knock on Gonzalez coming out, even early last year. Wasn't something he had to do a ton because he just wasn't allowing any completions because he was that good, which
Yeah.
if he can do that, great. None of this matters. But, Higgins is a tight end. He's 6'4". He's listed at
Big dude.
225. I would take the over. That's a big, strong, powerful dude. And like you said, you're gonna give up catches. He's gonna get his.
Yeah.
Don't let him extend those by breaking tackles. And some of that's on
Yeah.
Gonzalez. Some of that's on guys like Kyle Duggar and Jabril Peppers and Jalen Hawkins, who are on the back end and flood to the ball and get Gonzalez help as soon as he can. But that's, I think, an underrated part of that matchup and something that, Gonzalez, last time he was on the field, he hurt himself trying to make a tackle.
Right.
And it's not always easy to go right back to that. So I think how he tackles Higgins, ideally he doesn't have to tackle Higgins.
Yeah.
But realistically, he's probably going to have to a couple times. How he tackles against Higgins is definitely going to be worth watching. And I think you could extend that to how he plays in the run game.
Yeah, it's a good point, and I do wonder after the injury last year, not that you completely reinvent yourself,
Right.
but like does his technique change at all a little bit? Last year he was like kind of trying to chop guys down a lot, like throw
Yeah.
it, just kind of
That's how he
dive
hurt himself.
at his legs and throw his shoulder into
Yeah.
somebody instead of like wrapping up top because he is a smaller
Yeah.
guy in that respect in terms of like his mass. Like he's obviously a tall guy, but he's not very bulky. So maybe he changes that style a little bit, but just for him, and again, from a lot of this is going to be kind of bird's eye view
Yeah.
stuff. I didn't think he was as bad as some people did in training camp, mainly because I just am really confident in what we saw prior in regular season games, which are much more important than what he does in practice, right?
Yeah.
But he wasn't great in training camp. He was inconsistent. He was like up and down, uneven, whatever you want to call it. He needs to be great. Like he needs to be number one corner status. He got an honorable mention on Jeremy Fowler's list of best cornerbacks in the NFL off of 4 games from his rookie season. I remember Fowler writing a blurb about him saying if he had played the entire year, then most of the people he pulled would have had him top 10.
Right.
So that's the type of guy that they need him to be. We talked about it earlier. They no longer have Matthew Judon and Christian Barmore in the pass rush to be a 4-man rush team all the time. They are going to have to put 5 and 6 guys into the rush. If they're going to do that, then they're going to need Christian Gonzalez to be lights out. Like he's going to have to be a true lockdown corner on the outside. It's a big shoes to fill. It's like a lot of expectations, but the lights got to come on now. Like we're not in practice anymore. We're not gliding through things. We're not trying new stuff like he used to tell us sometimes in training camp. The switch has got to flip, and it's got to stay on now. And I feel like that's a big challenge for him.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, what's your next one?
So we kind of covered some of mine. I had just the Patriots rushing attack versus the Bengals front, and we talked a lot about that off the top of the show, but you got to get push. You got to get push up front. You talked about Layden Robinson, what's going to happen at left guard. I know you talked about outside zone, but this Bengals defense, I think, is actually a little bit softer up the middle. So inside zone stuff, whatever you want to call it, some trap.
It's interesting that they lost DJ Reader too. He signed with the Lions.
Well, they replaced him with Rankins.
But I think Reader's a better run stuffer.
I think he is too. So that's where actually you'd speak on this better than me. They want to be outside zone, but really, if you want to win this game running the ball, which is what they'll need to do, probably better off running between the tackles, right?
Yeah,
so just to attack the matchup.
So like they'll be like an inside zone duo like in terms of inside runs. That's usually what these teams do that run a lot of outside zone. That's kind of their inside counter to it. But they don't do it a ton usually. Like now the Niners and the Rams have totally pivoted to more duo and inside zone because everybody plays them for the outside zone, so they've been doing that more. And maybe that's the case. Like maybe Anarumo comes out and has wide edges and double edges, whatever it is. To try to like cut off the edge, and they do run it up the middle. That'll be an interesting part of this chess match. Like this is one of the other things that I wanted to touch on a little bit with this game on Sunday that I'm really interested in looking at. This is truly Van Pelt and DeMarcus Covington's first time scheming and calling plays and going toe-to-toe, like chess match style, right? With another offensive and defensive coordinator. Like how they do in that respect is going to be interesting. If the Bengals are overplaying outside zone, Alex Van Pelt's got to pivot. Like he's got to get them going up the field.
We talked about it. These West Coast coaches don't like doing that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. All right. I also just went with a specific matchup, though, on the offensive line. To me, this is even more so maybe than the Bengals receivers. Might be the biggest mismatch on the field on Sunday.
Yeah.
Chukwuekorfor against Trey Hendrickson is an absolute huge mismatch. So Trey Hendrickson last year had 17 and a half sacks
he was
for
good.
the Bengals. He was outstanding. He's one of the more, in my mind, underrated edge rushers in the NFL.
I'm with you on that.
He needs to get a lot more national pub. He's extremely versatile. He's well-rounded. I asked Chooks about this yesterday in the locker room, like, what's his go-to move? He's like, well, really, he's got like a couple different things he can throw at you. He throws a bunch of moves at you. He's really sound with his technique, and he can really get after the passer. They cannot leave Chooks for a one-on-one with Hendrickson too often. Like, that has got to be limited. There's got to be chips. The tight end maybe stays in 6-0 line, like whatever you got to do. Sam Hubbard's okay on the other side. Like, I wouldn't overlook Sam Hubbard, but I do feel like Onwenu can hold his own against Sam Hubbard. Hendrickson you've got to throw some extra stuff at him. Like, you can't just expect Chukwuekwuor to block him 15, 20 times on an island in pass protection. That's going to lead to a huge day.
And it's, you want to help with the guard there, but we don't know who the guard's going to be, and it's going to be Nick Leverett or
Right.
Michael Jordan, who are essentially backups. So
yeah,
that could get ugly. Simply put, he needs to be better. Okorafor needs to be better than he was last time we saw him, because the effort against Washington's not going to get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what's your last one?
My last one, you're going to roll your eyes.
You're going to go outside the box, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Kickoffs. Just the kickoff teams against each other.
A key matchup. Kickoffs. That's not a key
all right,
matchup.
All right, I'll give you this then.
Brandon Schooler versus L3 for the Bengals.
How about, and I have to look up because I actually don't know the name of the Bengals special teams coordinator, Ben Jacob. It's where is he? Oh, Darren Simmons. Jeremy Springer versus Darren Simmons.
Another coordinator, Jeremy Springer, doing this for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, every coordinator's doing the kickoffs for the first time. That's kind of my
Fair
point.
enough.
Yeah. Everybody kind of kept it. We didn't see too much in terms of the kickoffs in the preseason.
Right.
I think that's what they're doing when they kick us out of practice, is the kickoff
Yeah.
stuff. Like, they're keeping this very under wraps. Everybody's been everybody's been in the lab for months and months and months trying to find the angle, trying to find the edge, trying to find whatever way to make these kickoffs work, because whatever team figures out, I think there's 32 teams in the league. We're probably going to see 10 to 12 really different approaches. I don't mean different variations of the same approach. I think we're going to see 8 to 10 to 12 truly different approaches to kickoff coverage and kickoff return this week around the league. Whoever figures it out, whoever has the right answer, knows how it works, is going to have a tremendous advantage for the first month of the season. Maybe neither of these teams have the answer, right? But somebody's going to get an advantage off the kickoff. Patriots need all the edge they can get. So I'll give you Jeremy Springer versus Darren Simmons as the
I like it.
As the matchup.
So I have two things on this, actually.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Brendan Schooler about this today.
I saw you talking to Brendan Schooler today. I thought you were lost.
Yeah, I was talking to Brendan Schooler. And I asked him two things. The first thing was I was curious about, because Fred actually asked me about this on the show yesterday. I didn't have an answer, and he was flabbergasted that I didn't know some football minutia BS, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, well, now I got to find an answer. So on offense and defense, right?
Yeah.
The offense makes their substitutions, and then the defense has a chance to match the substitution. On kickoff, who has the last substitution? Do you know?
I'm pretty sure it's the return team.
So that's what Schooler said, but
Yeah.
he said he even wasn't 100% sure if they would hold up the play clock to allow you to substitute, or how that would work.
Yeah, I think that's more because they huddle up on the sideline.
Yeah.
I think it's just the job of somebody on the coaching staff to look over and see, okay, they have the hands team, or they have the heavy team, or they have the standard team, and just kind of adjust from there.
So maybe next time we talk to Springer, I can actually ask him a question about special teams, because I'm curious, because
I didn't even think of that. It's a good one.
Fred's point was, because of the uniqueness of this rule, there could be a chance where you have different kinds of blockers for different types of kick returns.
So in the XFL, they did have this.
Yeah.
And you had 3 units. You had the hands team, which is what it's always been.
Right.
And you didn't really use that a ton. You had the standard team, which was mostly tight ends, linebackers, maybe some running backs. And you had what I know some teams called the heavy unit,
right,
which is linemen.
Yeah.
And that's for return. I think kickoff, it's just standard and heavy.
Yeah.
And heavy was really only used when you're kicking off after a penalty, short field. And this is just how, I don't know that every team did it this way, and I don't know that this is going to translate to the NFL, but this is just kind of how I understood it was done, very, very base level. So, yeah, you would have to look across and say, all right, they got
Yeah.
the standard team, or all right, they got the heavy team. Here's who we want to send out there.
Second thing that I talked to Schooler about was that he really feels like it's going to be probably a month until you know what this is actually going to look like. Because he felt like in the preseason, it was very vanilla. Nobody really did anything schematically to try to get an edge. So he honestly said, none of us really 100% know what the heck this is going to look like. Like, this could be, as the league wants it to be, a dynamic kickoff,
Right.
or at the end of the day, this could be just like the old one, and it might be a dud.
Well, here's what I'm watching for. Because touchback, they moved touchback up to the 30,
Yeah.
right, from the 25.
Right.
And if it's really scary for the kicking teams, are they just going to boot touchbacks? Now,
Right.
we know the NFL can continue changing the rules up to week 4. If you start seeing teams boot
pushing it forward.
touchbacks, I would not be surprised if the touchback becomes the 40-yard line. Just like
Jeez.
it is if you miss the
It
landing
goes out
zone
of bounds.
anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
I think if you right now, if you bounce it into the landing zone and then into the end zone for a touchback, the ball only comes out to the 20, but that's very, very hard to do.
Right.
I think anything short of that, it would not surprise me if it's just, all right, the ball didn't land in the landing zone first. It landed anywhere else, 40-yard line. And some people may say, well, all right, well, they'll just take the 40-yard line. Give Patrick Mahomes a 60-yard field for every single one of his drives and
Yeah.
see if you have a real chance to win that game, right? Give
He
Lamar
needs-
Jansen, give Lamar Jackson.
Like Harrison Butker, you need like 20 yards to be in field goal range if you're the
Right.
Chiefs at that
Give
point.
Lamar Jackson, Justin Tucker, a
Yeah.
60-yard field on
Yeah.
every one of his drives and see if you have a chance to win that game. No, it's going to force teams to actually do this. And to your point, that's what the league wants. Don't be surprised if the touchback gets moved up. And if it doesn't happen this year, because that is kind of a big change to make in season, they might get pushed back next year. Definitely by next year, touchback's going to be a 40.
Last thing on the kickoffs.
Yeah.
You mentioned it, and I couldn't agree with you more. The Patriots, and I'm saying this about something on special teams.
Yeah, I'm listening.
The Patriots need every single edge that they can possibly get. They have Marcus Jones might be the best return man in football when he's healthy. This has to be
And Jalen Reagor, too, is a good one.
This has to be a dynamic kickoff for the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
They need to figure out ways to flip field position with this rule. Like, this has to be something that they're good at.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be...
And the coverage team, too. They can't be giving up big returns.
They're not going to be a great offensive team. I think we all know that. So if they're going to have a chance to score some points that we're not expecting them to score, it's going to come on special teams and on kickoffs.
Yep.
So this has to be something they're good at. And there's a little bit of pressure there on Jeremy Springer. Like this has got to be good for them. They have to be a dynamic kickoff return team and punt return team because of the way that they are going to be offensively. Like if Marcus Jones is Devin Hester and the league is terrified of him, that's a big thing for the Patriots that they can use.
Especially if that touchback gets moved up. Because, I mean, look, we don't know where Drake May's at yet, but who knows? Maybe Drake May's one of those guys. He can't give a 60-yard field if they move the touchback up. But you're exactly right. And look, they have a good punter. Bryce Behringer might have been their best player this summer. He was great.
Yeah.
They have a good punter. Punt return. They'll, like you said, Marcus Jones, good returner. They lost Slater, but the reality is if they take a step back, they lost Slater. Everybody's going to look at that. It's all about the kickoff when it comes to Singer.
Yeah.
To Springer. It's all about the kickoff.
Okay, so last key matchup for me, and then I promise we'll take some of these phone calls. I know you guys have been waiting. Keon White versus Trent Brown. Just because I want to see it. Like it's just one of those things. Now, I also, when I wrote my game plan for this week, which is up now on Patriots.com, my big preview for the game, I actually singled out Cordell Volson, their left guard, but I didn't want to get too, left guards to put you all to sleep. But they're going to have to take Keon White like a chess piece and find the weakest link on the opponent's offensive line. And on third down, he should be rushing over that guy, whether it's the left guard, it's the right tackle, it's the center, like wherever they are, they need to find Waldo on the offensive line and try to get Keon White to expose him. It reminds me so much of how they used Trey Flowers in the end, like in 17, 18, where every single time it was third down, Trey Flowers, whoever your worst offensive lineman was, they would get a one-on-one in the pass rush for Trey Flowers. That's what they have to turn Keon White into. So if, Volson at left guard is probably truly their worst offensive lineman in pass protection. But we all know the Trent Brown experience. Like he's either going to be locked in or he's not. And if he's not, then Keon White should have a good day.
I think he's going to be locked in. Former team, that it did not end well with against guys he knows. I think you're going to see a pretty good version of Trent Brown.
I agree. The former team thing, I think, is big
this week. We'll see about the whole season. But they also have Amarius Mims coming back. He's banged up. But I think we're going to see a pretty good version of Trent Brown this week. I do.
Alex, do you need something to do before next week's kickoff? Why not get your living room game day ready by playing the Bob's Discount Furniture Dare to Compare Challenge. When you dare to compare Bob's Renegade Motion Sofa with the competition, you get customizable modular design, Bobopedic power reclining seats, charging ports, and plenty of storage for hundreds less than other brands. Now that's a winning play. So stop in and see how much you can save when you dare to compare with Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. We actually have one of those reclining sofas. It's pretty nice. I enjoy it.
Those are great.
Yeah, and they have the little charging ports and everything. It's great. All right, let's take these phone calls. Eddie, if you've hung on, you're in L.A. and you're on the line. What's up, Eddie?
Hey, what's up, guys? Hope you're doing well. So I just got a little quick thought for you guys. Where do you guys think Jalen Polk will be playing from? And if we do see Jaheim Bell, what do you think we're going to see for him as in, like, what routes and, like, just what's the game plan with Jaheim Bell if he gets thrown in? That's all I got for you guys. I'll take it off the air. Thanks.
Thanks, Eddie. Thanks for the call. I think Jalen Polk's going to be your starting Z receiver on Sunday. I really do.
If he doesn't technically start, KJ Osborne might start as the veteran, but Polk's going to play a lot.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that in the NFL he's going to live over the middle of the field. He's going to be running crossing routes. He's going to be running slants. He's going to be running things into the middle of the field. One of the things, just talking to some people, on that Washington staff during the draft. Tyler Hughes even, here the Patriots now. They felt like Jalen Polk's route running was not truly showcased in that Washington offense. Like, you watch that Washington.
It wasn't.
You watch that. Yeah, you watch that Washington offense as much as anybody. They were a four verts, like vertical stem down the field.
Running
offense.
A straight line, maybe a deep post. Michael Penix will put it on your hands.
Yeah, like deep cross maybe was like the most horizontally cutting route that they ran, and they didn't really feel like he was able to showcase how good he can be at the top of the route. And in this offense, maybe he gets to do that a little bit more. I've been slow to the punch with Jalen Polk just because, we've been over this before. Like, I like the guys that are fast and separate and things like that.
You like Tyquan.
That's not true. That's not necessarily his game. But he, to me, is poised for a pretty good year. I really feel like he's going to be good.
So I wrote this morning like expectations for each of the Patriots rookies, one by one. And I said, obviously, Maye has the most pressure and the highest expectations. But if we're talking immediately, it's Jalen Polk. And it's not just because he's the second pick. It's because he's in a position where they're going to need him right away.
Yeah.
They don't have, a ton of high-end talent at wide receiver. He plays a role that's very, very crucial in this offense. He's a guy I think you should look for a big production early on. Now, that being said, I think for him, look, you want everybody to score touchdowns and hit explosive plays, but we've talked about this. He's a chain mover. He's not a big play threat. That's Thornton or Javon Baker is. To me, you're measuring Jalen Polk's success in catches and in first downs more than receiving yards and touchdowns, if that makes sense. Is he just keeping the chains moving? Like, we all thought Jacoby Myers was a pretty good receiver. He didn't score a touchdown until year 3.
Yeah, so I just pulled up Jacoby's numbers because I was curious about this. So Jacoby, in his last 2 years with the Patriots, I know it's a different offense and all that stuff, but just, bear with me for now. 83 for 866 in 2021, Mac Jones' rookie year. That's 10.4 yards per catch, 2 touchdowns. His last year in New England, 2022, he was 67 for 804. That was a big touchdown year for him. He had 6 touchdowns that year. 12 yards per catch. Between 10 and 12 yards per catch, between, let's call it 60 and 70 catches for Jalen Polk as a rookie, that's about where I feel like he's going to be. It might be 60 for 600, right? But it's going to be, like, to your point, if it's 60 for 600, but a lot of those come on 3rd and 7 where he's getting 8 yards, then that's sort of the role that they had in mind for him. And I do think that he can live up to that.
So using that 2021 season, because obviously in 2022 things kind of went haywire at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
Jacoby Myers, in terms of passing first downs, Jacoby Myers caught about a quarter of the Patriots' first downs that went to receivers. Like, that's what you're looking for Jalen Polk. That first, is he keeping them moving the chains? And then when you get in the red zone, you're looking at, red zone threats like Hunter Henry or just running the ball.
Yep.
But is he helping them extend drives and move the chains? That's what he's here to do.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Matt is in Virginia.
Wait, second
What's up,
part
Matt?
to that, wasn't it? Or whatever.
Oh, yeah, there was. I'll bring it back up. What's up, Matt? Go ahead.
Hey, so I was having an argument on Twitter. I know, stupid.
We all
But
do it. It's okay.
I did it yesterday. I regret it.
They were trying to say that we can move Big Mike to left tackle. I was trying to tell him that a 350-pound Mike Onwenu won't be very good at a position where you need to be more agile. But, they were trying to say I was wrong. So I'm just curious to see what you guys think about that because, to me personally at least, Mike Onwenu is not a left tackle. He's barely a right tackle. He's a very good guard. So I'm just curious what you guys think.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Matt. And don't worry, we all argue on Twitter more than we should. That is one of my.
I try not to, but I don't know why yesterday was different.
I mean, him at right tackle is already pushing it a little bit for me.
He's not a left tackle.
He's not a left tackle.
He's just not a left tackle.
Honestly, when they tried to play him at left guard, he kind of struggled a little bit with that too. I think he's a right side of the line player.
Yeah.
That's just where he prefers to play.
Yep.
It seems like, and where they prefer to play him. So no, not a left tackle. The other question that the caller before asked was about Jaheim Bell and his role in the offense.
Yeah. So Bell, I'm not expecting a ton from Bell out of the gate. He gives the coaching staff an opportunity to get really creative and try some different things because he's not a traditional tight end. He's more of an H-back, move tight end, fullback, that kind of thing. And that's a role you build on. But I also wonder if the coaching staff, because there are so many new pieces, wants to get the base of the offense down first. Bell's the kind of guy whose role grows as the year goes on.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be super worried if we don't see a ton from him early on. But, again, it's going to be he's never going to be, a 70% usage rate guy. He's probably going to hang around 40%. And it's going to be kind of, not gadget plays, but a little gimmicky. And you kind of want to build out your core offense first before you get to that. They will have an opportunity to get creative. And I think getting him in the mix as you go on throughout the year would be good.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if he has a quiet start and his push comes a little later on.
Yeah, I agree. And look, he's a 7th round pick at the end of the day.
You're not
so
expecting him to make a big
you shouldn't
impact.
have to. I agree that almost like Pop Douglas, he's not a normal 7th round pick.
Yeah.
Pop was a 6th round pick
but yeah.
because he went to a small school and because of his size, right?
Yeah.
Jaheim Bell fell through the cracks because what is he? Is he a fullback? Is he an H-back? Is he a tight end? Is he a receiver? Is he a running back? The versatility is great, but a lot of NFL teams are going to be stressed out by the versatility and we don't know what to actually do with this guy. The way that, to me, where Jaheim Bell gets on the field early is in 2 tight end packages. If they want a more explosive ball carrier on some of the things near the line of scrimmage, slide routes, dumps in the flats, off those bootleg actions and play action plays. If they feel like, Austin Hooper, Hunter Henry, really solid players at what they do and where they're going to fit, but they feel like they just need a little bit more juice out of that spot, then that's Jaheim Bell's best path to the roster. I was excited about some of the things he did in the preseason because those were the types of routes he was running. Crossing route from Joe Milton over the middle, little dump off in the flat from Drake May for 11 yards. Those are the types of plays that are going to get him on an NFL roster and stick in the league. So I'm still excited about Jaheim Bell, but I'm with you. It's probably going to be a little bit slower. Yep. I want to answer some of these emails now too, and then we'll do our predictions for the year. Question from David here in Madrid about the differences between the Mayo Covington defense and the Belichick defense. I would just call us back in 2 or 3 weeks. Give us some regular season games to look at. I think we're a little bit early for that. It's a really good question, and I'm looking forward to digging into it.
We need to actually see the Mayo defense, though.
Right. We don't know 100%. The one thing I will say is that I do feel like they're going to try to get vertical a little bit more on the line of scrimmage. I don't think they're going to be quite as two gap heavy.
Not as focused on contain. I think they're going to be more aggressive.
Yeah, which I like. Especially for some of those players that they have, O'Shane Zimenez, Josh Uche.
Yeah.
Uche just feels so out of place trying to be that kind of guy, that contain, set the edge player. If they're going to get him back to 2022, Josh Uche, then it's going to be slim back down, be the finesse rusher that you
got to let him pin his ears back.
Yeah, and let him pin his ears back.
And I'll say this, if they are going to do that, Joe Burrow's not a bad test because he's not a statue, but he's also not a guy that you have to worry about taking off and running a ton, especially coming off an injury. He's not going to want to take hits. You can lose contain on Joe Burrow, and it won't the Patriots won't lose this game because they lost contain on Joe Burrow. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, he did run for a third down conversion in the game a couple of years ago, but it was like 3rd and 4 that he picked up like 8 yards. He's not a runner. He's not immobile. Like, he's not a statue, but he's not really a runner either, I wouldn't say, with Burrow.
Right.
This question from Carlos, Los Pats.
Yep.
He asked about Gerard Mayo's appearance on Devon Godshaw's podcast. I didn't get to listen to the whole podcast yet, but I did hear on Twitter, I saw some of the quotes and some of the snippets. And this was a quote from Mayo, which is just music to my ears because you know how much I love these kind of quarterbacks. This is Mayo talking. The game has changed with the extended plays, dual threat. I'm not talking about Michael Vick. I'm talking about just extending plays. If you have that skill set, to me, that's the most important thing. So to Mayo, he's a defensive guy. And the two ways that I always look at it are, one, through the prism of the defense. Like, what would you not want to defend the most? Like, what's the hardest thing to defend? The other thing is through the prism of the offensive coordinator or the play caller, which is you don't want to have any physical limitations with the quarterback, where you're thinking to yourself, we can't call this play because he can't make that throw. Like, you don't want to have to think like that if you're a coordinator. May, to me, has always checked both those boxes, where he's got the off-script stuff that Mayo was talking about with Godshaw that makes defensive coordinators just stay up late at night because they're like, well, we could have the original play on this 3rd and 8 covered correctly, and then all of a sudden he breaks contain, gets outside the pocket, and makes something stupid happen, and now all of a sudden they're still on the field. Those are the plays that he can make. We saw it a little bit, obviously he got called back, but we saw it a little bit in the Washington game. And it's good to hear that from Mayo. Now, Carlos says that he feels like this is Mayo saying that Drake May could start right away, and he still feels like Gerard Mayo would have started Drake on Sunday, and maybe, I guess, Elliot Wolf and some of the other people in the organization push back on that. Where do you fall on that?
No, because it's a big picture thought. It's not. Yeah, I guess I'd say it's a big picture philosophy thought, not week one. He can believe that's what you need from a quarterback and also believe it's best for rookie quarterbacks to not start right away. Like, both those things can be true.
Yeah. Yeah, his thought here with Godshaw is more of like a draft philosophy in terms of skill set and like evaluating the player. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors with why Drake May isn't playing yet. They've told us that it's mostly mental. It's, making checks at the line of scrimmage, knowing how to handle protections and pressure packages and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, we all feel that some of it has to do with what's going to be around him. That's a factor in all of this. You don't want him to get in there and play playground football too often. Like, you want that to be when the cape comes on, and he's got to, but you don't want that to be like the basis of the offense. Is Drake May just running around like a chicken and trying to find something and do something with the ball? Because that's not a good habit to start. That's all that he's good at. I'll just give you an example. That to me is Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson with the Jets had these moments where he'd make some crazy out of structure throws down the field. He couldn't hit the broadside of a barn in the pocket, right? Like that was the issue. And if you can't be a in-structure thrower first and then improviser second, then it's really difficult to make.
And the problem is you can't, even the greats can't make those improvisational throws on a regular enough basis. Mahomes is probably the closest, but like Zach Wilson would try to improvise and throw the ball to Devin McCourty 4 times in a game.
Like a freaking arm punt.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's where I stand on that. Another question here. We don't really talk about this stuff a ton on this show, but I just got to get something off my chest about this. So they must have been talking about this on Unfiltered.
Is it not the IU contract?
No.
All right, I'm done with that one.
Full disclosure, I wasn't on Unfiltered for the whole show, so I'm not 100% sure. But this was about Bill Belichick, and now he's on Instagram. Now he's got 17 media jobs and all this kind of stuff. And I'm not going to lie to you, Alex. A part of me feels like it's a little hypocritical. Like, just a little bit. And I'm glad. Go live your best life, right? Like, go live your best life. Just go live your best life, Bill. But at the same time, it does feel, as a media person, it feels a little hypocritical because he could not have looked down on the media, especially the local media, more than that human being did. Like, nobody could top Bill Belichick's, I wouldn't call it necessarily disdain, but just like no interest whatsoever in the media and what we did. And now all of a sudden he's on Inside the NFL. He's on with McAfee. He's going to be on with the Mannings. He's on Instagram. He's on all these types of things. It hurts a little bit. It hurts my feelings just a little bit.
So
I'm not
a
going to
couple
lie.
things. First off, you've never seen somebody have like a total. You've never seen one of your friends pull like a total 180 after a breakup and just completely reinvent themselves,
It's possible.
right? Yeah,
That's a
look
good
at me.
theory.
Look. Oh, you didn't think I could do this? Look where I'm at. As for the social media thing, like, look, I'm not Bill Belichick. I don't mean to say that, but like, I don't love social media. I don't love using it. Twitter, I've always kind of known I use. I never had any interest in getting Instagram. I still don't like it. But at one point, one of my employers was like, you're going to work in media, you need Instagram. If, like, Bill Belichick's on Instagram because one of his employers, like Underdog or whoever, said, you need to be on Instagram to promote the show. Bill's not doing, he recorded that little intro video. That's the last time he's ever going to see that thing.
Yeah.
That's my guess, is they will post clips from his show. There will be pre-planned things that are put out there. That is not run by him. If I see Bill Belichick doing, Instagram stories where he's holding the phone up and doing selfies and like, oh, I'm out getting a burrito bowl, like, yeah, then I'd kind of call that a little hypocritical. But if you're going to work in media, the reality is you need social media because that's where all this stuff's promoted. That's how you get to people. Somebody else is going to run that for him. That I don't find hypocritical.
I have no problem with the social media aspect. The problem that I have with what he's been doing is more so like, I understand that this is a little inside baseball and nobody actually cares about our feelings, and that's totally fine. But the bottom line is that he was flat out difficult to deal with. It was difficult to do your job.
Here's the thing I would care about. If he went out and did a bad job, that would annoy the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you're Bill Belichick. You have more knowledge on the subject than anybody. You're now in a position to share that knowledge more than you were, because obviously he's not going to share his complete knowledge when he's coaching the team. That's his advantage. He's not going to give that advantage away outside of maybe, little blips here and there. I loved when they did the NFL 100-year team. That's one of my favorite pieces of Belichick content. But
he's good at it. Like, I'm not trying to sit here and I don't think he's press conference Bill on TV.
That
like,
football
I do think
guy
he's better.
segment they did on Around the NFL is awesome.
Yeah.
That was great. Like, give me more of that. If he was going to come out and be cookie cutter and, like, not be himself, I would be annoyed by it. So far, everything I've seen from him, I've really liked. And he's been different between different shows, too. And this is where I feel like I can relate to him a little bit, because few people are doing more podcasts than I am. Bill Belichick is on the list, and part of the key of it, you talked in the open how you liked how I did the move the microphone away thing. Shout out to the dedicated listeners who noticed I also did that on Patriots Beat. And I try not to do that. I liked that bit, so I brought it over, but you got to find a fine line between, you don't want to be changing your takes and changing your on-air persona between shows, but you can't have every show be the same thing, because then people won't tune in. So far, it's early. I would say he's done a very good job of that, and I can attack. I'm not trying to. I know people. Oh, you're not Bill. In this sense, I think I do have a little bit of a right to compare myself to him. It's not easy to do that. So far, he's done it. You can tell me I'm going off the deep end there, but I think it's fair to make that comparison.
You do more podcasts than anybody I know. That's for sure. And
except Bill now. He's
well,
coming for my title.
I'm not going to sit here and act like I really know Bill. So
he's got. Hang on. He's got the Underdog show. And podcast shows. Obviously, these shows are much bigger than the shows that I do. But if we're talking pure volume, Inside the NFL, Manning Cast, Underdog. I feel like there's a fourth one, too. He just added 33rd Team.
Yeah. Just
on pure volume, I mean.
How the tables have turned, huh?
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, media ain't so bad when they're paying you, huh? That's how it works.
Meanwhile, I have this, Patriots Beat, Sports Hub, Patriots podcast, Sunday morning show. Yeah, all right, we're like neck for neck there. I might have to add another show to get back ahead of Bill.
Why don't you just stroke your ego a little bit more?
It's not an ego thing. I'm just saying.
All right. I digress about Bill. He does a good job for the most part, and I really do believe that this is a likability thing. He is trying to repair his image. I don't think he's going to do this forever. I really believe he'll be back in coaching next year. One of these teams, Eagles, Cowboys, maybe Buffalo, are going to fire their coach because they have a bad season and don't meet expectations, and they'll hire Bill. because it'll be 1 year. Jerry Jones is like 80-something years old. He's going to want to chase a ring before he gives it up. And my guess is that that's the way it will go. But it is interesting. I didn't think that this is the route that Bill would take. I didn't.
I thought there'd be something. I thought he would do like
Inside the NFL.
Right,
like one show.
or maybe like something with NFL films where it's not like a regular show, but
It's like his like a detail type thing.
yeah, like once a month, every other week he'd come
Yeah.
on and it would just be like loose format. I did not think he was going to be all over the place like this. I didn't.
All right.
Although, sorry,
Yeah.
you know what it tells me he's not done with coaching, because part of the reason I thought he'd only do one thing is I thought he'd want to enjoy retirement. To me, in my mind, he's not remotely close to retired.
No. If he wanted to enjoy retirement, he would have just walked off into the sunset.
Right.
But he didn't do that.
But it would have been really easy for him to walk off into the sunset now and say, all right, I'm going to take the year off, see how I feel, and then depending on how I feel, come back to coaching. He's trying to stay as involved as much as possible.
Yeah. This is definitely an image thing. Like he
Yes.
wants to repair his image. Oh, look, this is what I'm actually like. I'm a likable guy. I can have fun. I can, let my hair down a little bit. I'm not, the stoic press conference Bill that's a different version of Bill than what happens behind closed doors.
So now
And
it's
he's
going to be
trying
wild
trying
next
to
year
show
when he's
that.
back coaching to see him go back into that mode.
Yeah, it will
Because
be.
this Bill is not coming when he goes and coaches. This
No.
Bill is temporary.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's talk some big picture league stuff and Patriots stuff. So what we did was we have a couple categories here: MVP, Rookie of the Year, Breakout Player of the Year, and biggest disappointment. We're gonna do Patriots and then we're gonna do the whole league, right? We're gonna do both. Okay, so let's start with Patriots MVP. Who do you got?
So most valuable player is David Andrews. If we're going to do that, like he's the
Yeah.
player they can least afford to lose. I think the best player is going to be Gonzalez. I actually think he's going to bounce back. I think he's going to have a really good year.
Okay, this is gonna surprise you. I went with Ramondre.
That's a good one. That's honestly a good one.
I understand a lot of it's going to be the offensive line. Like if he doesn't have the blocking, I'm going to be totally wrong. It's going to look like last year and all that kind of stuff. But I just feel like he's poised for a decent year, and he's going to get so much volume that at the end of the year he's going to be over 1,000 with some touchdowns and things like that.
So I want to push back on the volume thing. You know how I feel about this.
Yes.
Do not run Ramondre Stevenson into the ground. Don't do it again. He has talked about how the workload was too much. You saw, it's fitting, Bengals week, we're talking about this. After that fumble, he talked about being worn down by the workload he had that year. And I'm just saying this for round numbers. I think Ramondre, you are going to get more out of Ramondre Stevenson giving you 200 touches than you are out of Ramondre Stevenson giving you 250. He's going to be fresher. He's going to be more explosive. I'm talking about, can you find 4 to 5 touches a game that can go elsewhere?
Gibson.
Antonio Gibson is as good of a back as they've had since Damian Harris left. He might be better. I'm very high on Damian Harris, but you have a good left hook. You have a good second option. Keep Ramondre around 15 to 20 touches per game rather than 25, and I think it will be absolutely worth it in the long run. I still think he could be the team MVP with those lesser touches because he's going to be more explosive and he's going to make more out of the touches he has. But, Evan, we go through this every single year.
This is your Roman Empire.
And I'm right.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
And I'm right. I would like to think in Cleveland, Van Pelt and that coaching staff did a great job. Now, Chubb suffered a freak injury, and that happens with running backs.
But they always had Kareem Hunt.
Right. You can't guarantee they stay healthy. But they would even go down. They had, what was his name? Felton.
Yeah.
They would go like 3-4 backs deep. They would run 3-4 backs deep. Dearness Johnson, AAF legend Dearness Johnson.
Yeah.
They would run 3-4 backs deep every week, and it wasn't an equal distribution, but they did a very good job of keeping their backs fresh. The teams that rely on bell cow backs to be competitive, they're good, but they always fall off in December. Whether it was the Cowboys with Zeke, whether it was the Titans with Derrick Henry. I'm going to kind of put the Ravens in here because Lamar carries a big load in that running game, and he would get beat up. Those teams always fall off late because the NFL's too physical to truly dominate start to finish with the bell cow back anymore. It can't be done. I think you can dominate running the ball, and we disagree there. I think you can dominate running the ball, but it's got to be by committee. And I would hope the Patriots embrace that this year, and we get to see the best of Ramondre Stevenson.
With that being said, 200 touches is a lot.
No, he's still going to have a lot. Can he be
volume.
top 15 instead of top 5 in touches is basically what I'm asking.
Fair enough. They're going to try to run the ball.
They're going to try to run the ball, but they got multiple backs. And you got end-arounds with Pop Douglas, and Drake May can factor in the run game.
Yeah.
Once he's in there, it doesn't all have to be handoffs to Ramondre Stevenson, and it doesn't have to be, and I don't know how many games they'll be up in like this, but Evan, you know that you called this my Roman Empire. Roman Empire.
This is his thing.
The Roman Empire of my Roman Empire is that 2022 game against the Lions.
Where
they're up multiple scores with like 3 minutes to go, and it's halfback dive to Ramondre Stevenson when Kevin Harris is right there. Ramondre does not need to be taking those hits. You need to trust another back enough to kind of take the less important carries and save Ramondre Stevenson for when it matters.
So a more efficient, potentially, Ramondre Stevenson, I think he's poised for a big year.
And like I said, I still think he can have a big year. This is not me saying play Ramondre less he sucks. This is just me saying be mindful of the workload you're putting on him over the course of the season.
Fair enough. I love that take from you. Who's your league MVP this year?
Lamar Jackson.
Back to back.
Yep. Back to back. And I think that the addition of are we doing Super Bowl picks too?
We can if you want. I did division. I didn't think about the Super Bowl.
The addition of Derrick Henry is so important in Baltimore. So important. Because the big issue people talk about Lamar as like he can't win games late in the season and he can't win playoff games, and he hasn't. I'm not saying it's unfair,
he
but
to the AFC Championship game last year,
and he lost, and people get on him for not being a big game. Am I wrong in saying that narrative exists?
It does.
So, but I think he's different than your average like choker, than your average like Peyton Manning or Josh Allen, because he does.
I love how Josh Allen just caught a stray there.
What big game is Josh Allen?
Just
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. You tell me. I'll sit here and wait. You tell me what big game Josh Allen's won.
Just finish the take. This is a regular season award, by the way.
I think it's different. Well, we're gonna, like I said, I want to do Super Bowl picks. We're gonna get with Lamar Jackson is different because he takes so much more of a physical toll, and a lot of the times when the Ravens get late in the year, he's just beat up or not even playing. They had Tyler Huntley start a playoff game last year, 2 years ago, whatever it was. Derrick Henry can now take a huge part of that beating. And I think you're going to see, this goes back to my take with Ramondre kind of. I think you're going to see Lamar Jackson be a lot more efficient this year, and I think you're going to see him do more as a passer. And I just think I love the setup they have for him. And you know me, I was not always a big Lamar Jackson fan.
Yeah,
I love the set. Talk about building it around your quarterback. I love the setup they have for him right now.
I'm a little skeptical, and we'll see tonight. I'm a little skeptical.
Oh, sorry. This should be your take. The other reason I really like this?
Yeah.
Zay Flowers, year 2.
Yeah.
Zay Flowers, big jump, year 2.
Yeah, I'm a little skeptical of Derrick Henry in this offense. I'm not going to lie to you. Derrick Henry, to me, is quarterback under center. Derrick Henry, 8 yards in the backfield, turn it around and hand it off. They run their offense in Baltimore out of the shotgun. So
they run out of pistol a good amount.
Yeah, they run some pistol, but you're asking like a 240-pound Derrick Henry to start from a standstill now and not have that run up to the line of scrimmage.
I think you're going to do less of that.
So you think you're going to be under center?
No, more pistol.
But
they
pistol's
run that
still
full
like
house.
you're still pistol. Pistol is still not the same run up that you have.
I
from
think
under
they're
center.
going to create ways for Derrick Henry to function in this offense.
Okay, I hear you. It's a little bit of a weird stylistic fit.
Yeah.
Like when I think about the best back for Lamar Jackson, I would definitely think of more of like a spread back. You know, like more of a guy that's going to be able to operate out of the shotgun.
Well, but they still have Justice Hill.
Yeah.
They added Rasheen Ali, who's a rookie who I like. They're going to have opportunities to do those kind of things. I think Derrick Henry's workload's going to go down. But he's just going to be some of that like quarterback power stuff.
Yeah.
You can just run with Derrick Henry. Also, don't think they're not itching to get the Derrick Henry Wildcat package going.
Oh, God. This is okay. My MVP of the league.
Yeah, go ahead. I heard you before. The guy that lost all the best players around him on offense.
That's why he's going to win MVP.
Because he's on a worse team.
No, yeah, exactly.
And he lost his binky.
Exactly. Josh Allen, MVP of the league.
Okay.
The reason why he's going to be MVP of the league is because the Bills are still going to be good. He's going to still be good. And everybody's going to say, oh, wow, like, he loses Stephon Diggs. He's still great. The Bills are still win the AFC East. They're still 11 wins. And Josh Allen's the MVP of the league. He almost won MVP last year. He almost won last year. He was like third in the voting. He's going to win MVP this year.
He's going to lead the league in turnovers.
I
which is
understand
disqualifying.
that he doesn't win big games and yada, yada, yada. We're talking about a
It's a
regular,
season award. Yeah, that's fair.
He's going to have a great regular season this year without Diggs, and to me, that is going to earn him MVP votes.
He's going to lead the league in turnovers, which is and should be disqualifying
Maybe.
for that award.
Maybe.
And I don't think he's going to be better without Diggs. I think he's going to miss Diggs tremendously. If you look at what he's been in his career without Diggs and without Diggs and Dayball.
He was without Diggs when he was like a rookie in his second year.
And
he's developed a lot since then. I also picked this just to piss you off.
I know you did.
Yeah.
I don't believe in Keon Coleman.
I'm with you there, but I think Dalton Kincaid's going to be good.
I don't know that he can win the MVP just throwing at Dalton Kincaid.
He's not just going to throw to Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah, he's kind of just throwing at Dalton Kincaid.
All right.
Big Mac
Josh
Hollins
Allen.
guy.
No. I just if there's a time for Josh Allen to win MVP, it's this year.
This is the put up or shut up year for Josh Allen. I'll say that because he doesn't have Diggs.
You're acting like he's not done it, like he's freaking
Mac
Jones. Like put up or shut up.
To
one of the top
his
5
extent.
quarterback in the league for 3 years.
Why? What makes him a top 5 quarterback?
What do you mean?
He
Watch
leads
the
the league in
games.
turnovers.
What
He
are you
leads the league
talking
in
about?
turnovers.
Oh my
He
goodness.
can't beat the other top quarterbacks in the playoffs. He can't beat Joe Burrow. He can't beat Patrick Mahomes. Like that's what he doesn't have Diggs, and it's the last year he's not going to have
This is
Dayball.
literally rooted in the fact that you just don't like Buffalo. This is a
No, Evan. What has he won?
It has nothing to do with what he's won. Yes, he needs to win
He's
more.
a top
Lamar
5.
Jackson.
Whoopsie doo wee! Look over here, over there. You know what? He's top 5 in turnovers. Turnovers, Evan.
This will get him fired up.
This is his year.
MVP
I'll tell you, if he is a big year this year, I put more weight in this year because he doesn't have Diggs, who's his binky, and he doesn't have Dayball, who's the only coach who's figuring him out. And he's going to get Dayball back next year. I really believe that.
Objectively
so this is the
speaking,
year.
Take your passioned rant out of it. Objectively speaking, if you have watched football for the last 2 to 3 years, you cannot tell me that Josh Allen hasn't been one of the league quarterbacks in the league.
He's one of the better quarterbacks. He's led the league in turnovers. I don't
so
put him
Brett
in the same
Favre
tier.
also threw a lot of interceptions.
Okay, but
Does he suck
in the
now
90s, in the 90s, I don't put him in the same tier as Mahomes.
No one.
I don't put him in the same tier as Jackson. I
See,
don't put him in the same tier as Burrow.
I would say that him, Burrow, Jackson, like those guys to me are in that next tier. Like Patrick Mahomes.
But those guys beat him.
Patrick Mahomes is S tier. He's by
Yes.
himself.
All right, Mahomes by himself. Yeah, we're both right about that.
And
Yes.
then the next tier of quarterbacks would probably be Burrow, Allen, Lamar Jackson.
I put him separately because he hasn't won the turnovers thing, which I know the whole new nerd thing is turnovers don't matter.
No, it's not that
That's
turnovers
just because
don't matter.
Their favorite
It's just-
quarterbacks all turn the ball over.
It's not that turnovers
so
don't
they need
matter.
to tell
It
us
just-
they don't matter.
It just doesn't outweigh the fact that he also threw for like 40 touchdowns. Like you just
He's a
act
great
like it's,
fantasy football
you
quarterback.
act like that's the only thing that he does.
He's
is
a
turn the
great
ball
fantasy
over.
football quarterback.
All right.
I those other guys do more in big games than he does.
I don't deny that. But this is
And
a
that's-
regular season
but
award.
That's what I'm telling you.
This is a regular
Okay,
season
but he's
award.
gonna have
I'm
to-
not saying he's winning the Conn
He's
Smythe.
not
I'm
going to
saying
win
he's
the
winning
MVP, but he's not going to win
league.
the MVP if he loses. I don't know what their schedule is this year. I assume they play all these teams. He's not going to win the MVP this year if he loses to Mahomes, Burrow, and Jackson.
Okay, we'll see.
All right.
We'll see. All right, Rookie of the Year for the Patriots.
Rookie of the year for the Patriots. I'm going to go Jalen Polk just because, I mean, like, it is Drake May, obviously, but, like, pound for pound, Jalen Polk's going to play 17 games. He's going to be heavily involved for 17 games, assuming he stays healthy. He projects to be a focal point of the offense. Like, I know Drake May's the easy answer because realistically, if Drake May does anything short of go out there and puke all over himself, they have a quarterback, and that's exciting. But do you get what I'm saying by that? Like, I don't mean this to knock Drake May or say Drake May is going to be bad, but Jalen Polk's going to have more opportunities to produce as a rookie, and I think he's going to do it.
Yeah, I picked Jalen Polk as well.
Okay, yeah.
I just feel all the same reasons. Like, in terms of volume of games he's going to play and opportunities he's going to get, it's just going to be more than any of the other rookies. Like, Caden Wallace and Javon Baker, I'm not sure are going to play much at all to start the year, especially, but maybe even not even late in the year either. Like, once Drake May gets in there, if you told me that Drake May was going to play 12 games, then I would pick Drake May.
Exactly.
But if he's not going to play 12 games, he's only going to play 8, then it's just hard to envision that he would have a bigger impact on the season than Jalen Polk. So I picked Jalen Polk as well you made the case perfectly. That's with Polk, Rookie of the Year for the NFL.
I know this is lazy. I think he's the favorite in most, if not all, books.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams.
Yeah,
I don't remember the last time a rookie quarterback went into a situation that good. The only one I can think of, honestly, would have been J.J. McCarthy, but he's hurt.
Yeah.
So he's got 3 great receivers, solid offensive line. It's not great, but a solid offensive line. They've built that thing up over the last few years. They're going to win some games. The defense is competitive. Caleb Williams, I guess if I had to go, like, I don't want to give the obvious one.
Yeah.
I would think Caleb Williams. My sleeper for this is Xavier Worthy.
Yeah.
Xavier Worthy could be like a 1,200-yard receiver if everything goes
if he
right.
stays healthy.
Yeah.
I picked Caleb as well for basically all the same reasons too. I just he's already at a baseline now. I feel like that's good enough to be an NFL quarterback, and he's got so many weapons to work with in Chicago. He would have to get hurt at this point.
Right.
I really
Can I
believe
add
that.
this though?
Yes.
Caleb Williams will win Rookie of the Year. Caleb Williams will not be the best rookie on his team.
Roma Dunze be better.
Tory Taylor.
Tory Taylor.
Tory Taylor's so freaking good.
What do you pull that out of?
What do you mean? You think I'm not going to bring up Tory Taylor? We're doing a segment about Bears rookies, and I'm not going to bring up Tory Taylor?
You think that Tory Taylor is going to be better than Caleb Williams and Roma Dunze?
We've been through this, Evan. I do this with the draft every year. Best player available. What does best player available really mean? Is Caleb Williams going to be top 5 at his position in the NFL this year? Probably not. He's going to be really good. No, hang on. Is Caleb Williams going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL this year? Probably not.
No.
He's a good player, but probably not this year.
Yeah.
Is Roma Dunze going to be a top 5 NFL wide receiver this year?
No.
I actually think he has a better chance of being top 5 than Williams does, but is Tory Taylor going to be a top 5 punter in the NFL this year? He very well could be.
Shut up.
Pound for pound, Tory Taylor will be the best
are we
rookie on the Bears
talking
this year.
about?
You know
That's a
exactly
horrible take.
what I'm talking about.
What if he
Tory
doesn't?
Taylor was the best player available in the draft, like 6 picks in this year.
Well, what happens if he doesn't punt at all because their offense is just awesome?
That is actually a very good point.
Yeah, exactly. So it is.
Well,
just
if we're
ridiculous.
going off like percentages,
Next
like
you're going to tell me
I-20
Patriots
touchback
MVP
percentage.
is Bryce Behringer.
I
Like,
mean, remember Jake Bailey in 2020? He was really freaking good.
Okay, so
We all kind of came away from that agreeing
Just
pretty much
stop.
universally that he was the MVP of that team.
So I'll give you one sleeper candidate for Rookie of the Year. You're not going to like it, but I do think there's a chance that Bo Nix has like a Mac Jones rookie season. I don't know if he'll get the wins, right? Like that's going to be the biggest problem, and he's not going to be the best rookie. Like he shouldn't win the award, but I do think there's a chance that he has like a very good because that he to me he's a little bit more athletic than Mac. But he's the pro-ready quarterback, right?
I guess I just not that Mac had it. Well, Mac didn't win it in 21.
He came in second.
Right.
That's kind of how I see this happening for Bo Nix.
I just don't trust anything around Nix to elevate him.
Yeah, that's
Like,
fair.
I
Sean
think
Payton's a good coach. But
Sean Payton's a good coach, but the line has a ton of questions. Their best receiver is, at this point, I mean, I guess they have Cortland Sutton, but after Cortland Sutton, it falls off big time. They don't have a big-name tight end. Like Mac
I'm
Jones
not buying any
had Hunter Henry.
long-term Bo Nix stock, but if he was like a fine rookie quarterback like Mac was, then I wouldn't
There are
be
going to be
surprised.
people. No, I think there are going to be people who come away from this year saying, "Why didn't the Patriots draft Bo Nix?" Look at him, not realizing like there's no upward trajectory. But I don't know that he has the pieces around him to win Rookie of the Year.
Okay, breakout player.
Breakout player for the Patriots.
Yes.
I am going. You go first. I gotta think.
So I don't know if this counts. I'm going to ask you to be my judge here.
Okay.
Does Pop Douglas count? Because if Pop Douglas stays healthy, I truly feel like he could be 1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah, I'd call it more surprise than breakout because I think we'd all be surprised if he stays healthy. But he broke out. Like breakout to me implies talent. Like who takes the biggest leap in talent from the year before? And I mean, if Pop Douglas breaks out, like has what I would consider a breakout year, you're talking about top 10 receiver.
Yeah. So Keon White.
White
would be the other one.
Okay.
But I really do consider Pop in this conversation because what he had 550, like 50 catches for 500 yards, something around that. It didn't score a touchdown
if you want to call him
year.
like the biggest surprise player, but I don't think there's any doubts when it comes to his ability. It's just durability.
Yeah, fair enough.
So breakout to me is ability. I thought you were going to go Tyquan.
Nope, I'm going to go.
Tyquan to me is the exact kind of player that would qualify for like a breakout year.
Nope, I'm going to go Keon White. I really just feel like there's a lot riding on Keon White being a good player for them, just in terms of they need somebody in the front seven that can beat a block. And get into the backfield. So not only do I feel like they're going to be focused on trying to scheme him in different ways to get free in the pass rush, I just last year definitely felt like for him was like, I'm going to get my feet wet. I belong in this league now. And now in year 2, I'm going to dominate.
He
like
said
now,
that.
Yeah.
I think he said that in the spring that like last year he was more worried about not screwing up.
Yeah.
And now he's more focused on beating the person across from him. I'm going to go with, I can't believe, I'm going to buy in.
Yep.
We bought in and then we didn't buy in. I'm buying in again. I'm not doing Taquan. Alex Austin.
Okay.
I really, really liked what I saw from him last year down the stretch.
Yep.
He was really good. And he had a really good spring. He didn't have a great summer, and I know that kind of cooled things off, but we talked about Christian Gonzalez faltering and maybe that being like kind of a gamer thing.
Yeah.
I know what I saw from Alex Austin last year in December, January, and I'm not gonna let, what wasn't a bad camp. It just what we set the expectations too high.
Yeah,
is basically where I'm
with
at.
that.
We set the expectations too high. I'm gonna buy stock in what I saw last December, January from Alex Austin. I think he emerges as like. We come out of this year. I think there's a chance we come out of this year. And I know we've talked about Travis Hunter and Will Johnson in the draft and like, could they sneaky go corner? Christian Gonzalez, Alex Austin, those are your two boundary corners. You feel good. Lock it in moving forward.
Yeah.
I think there's a chance we come out of this year and Alex Austin looks like that guy.
I definitely agree that the bar is set too high for him.
Yeah.
He's a solid rotational boundary corner.
I
It's
think
like
he can be a little more than that.
Okay.
I think he'd be a little. Now, we were talking about him being like him and Gonzalez turning into like the best quarterback tandem.
Yeah,
in football.
no fly zone.
I don't think he's about to go get the Pat Surtain contract.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about him being the Jason McCourty, being that third guy. Can he be Malcolm Butler?
Yeah.
Can he be
Logan
J.C.
Ryan.
Jackson, Logan Ryan, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe even a little better than that.
I don't know. I always think of Logan Ryan for some reason in that.
I also just was never a big Logan Ryan guy.
He was
but
always just serviceable. Never flashy, but just
I think what's the step
serviceable.
above serviceable?
Probably Jason McCourty.
Like good?
Yeah.
Okay, but Jason McCourty was, Jason McCourty was a third corner on a team that was very, very
and
deep.
also
so,
he was
okay.
towards the end of the line.
Yeah, so
all right.
I Alex Austin.
Who's your breakout for the league?
My breakout for, you go first on this again. I forgot we were doing this one.
So, come on. Like, I told him last night we were doing this. Well, because I picked Josh Allen to win MVP, I have to assume that somebody on the Bills offense is going to break out to replace the void left by Diggs. So I went with Dalton Kincaid, who I don't really love, to be honest with you. So I don't feel great about it. But I just feel like the ball has
This
to go.
is just blind love of Josh Allen. That's all. That everybody's getting
Just to
mad at
piss
me
you
for
off.
blindly hating Josh Allen. You're doing the same thing, but in the other direction.
Yeah, I'm just doing it to piss you off. Dalton Kincaid, someone's got to get the ball thrown to him in Buffalo. I was impressed with him against the Patriots last year. I mean, he smoked Kyle Duggar on that one play.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that based off of what I saw in college. Maybe I undersold him a little bit in the draft. It's just more like an opportunity thing. Someone's got to catch the ball from Josh Allen. They're going to throw it a ton. So I got Dalton Kincaid.
All right, how about this one? Anthony Richardson.
I'm so with you on this.
I think, and I don't know. I was kind of 50-50 on Anthony Richardson coming out.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, we talk about Drake May as a project. Like, Anthony Richardson's a real project.
Yeah.
But
I'm not, bought in. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
But I'm not bought in on the Colts as a whole. But I'm kind of bought in on Anthony Richardson.
I think I'm the opposite. I think they put so much talent around Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
He's going to have no choice but to be decent.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to have an opportunity to grow in real time.
Yeah.
And I think there's a chance with the pieces. Now, it might end up being fool's gold long term. He could break out this year and then kind of plateau. But, you look at their wide receivers, man. I mean, Josh Downs, we're both really high on. Michael Pittman, we're both really high on.
Mitchell.
You add A.D. Mitchell to that
Michael
group.
Pierce, right? Still.
Alec Pierce is still there. I like their tight ends, Mo Alley, Cox.
Yeah.
Although, why am I see? Is A.D. Mitchell opening on,
I don't think so. I think he was playing.
why isn't he on here?
But
anyway.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at the 2023 Colts. I'm an idiot.
I
want to make sure I didn't forget anybody.
I got him so frazzled by picking Josh Allen for MVP that he's just all over the place.
You add A.D. Mitchell, Michael Pittman,
yeah,
Mo Alley, Cox. I think this can be a
good
Anthony
offensive
Richardson could have a really
line,
good
too.
season. Good offensive line. Yeah.
Yeah, so I really like Shane Steichen too. I think he's one of the better schemers in the NFL on the offensive side of the ball. And one of the things he's been able to do with those quarterbacks like Hurts and Anthony Richardson is he builds an offense around mobile quarterbacks. Like he will run RPO, he will run different things that get them into space and get them their athletic ability to shine. So he's a really good schemer. He's one of the best in the league in my mind.
And we're not doing like fantasy football breakouts, like take this guy late in the draft. This is actual X's and O's NFL football we're talking. I think some people in the chat thought we were talking like fantasy. So.
Oh, no, we don't do fantasy here. This is like who's actually going to play well, not who's going to
That one guy got to read us his fantasy lineup last week because he had an awesome team name based on the show. That was it.
That's absolutely right. All right, biggest disappointment this year.
Should I just say Josh Allen to keep the conversation going?
No, you shouldn't.
No, I'm not going to. I'm going to say Jim Harbaugh.
I'm with you on this.
I think so. I had my real hot take going into the season. I think I started giving this in like June, was that Jim Harbaugh would be one and done with the Chargers.
Yeah.
Now, that was before the pending punishments from the NCAA came out, and that changes the math on it a little bit. But I just don't see how that works. I already hate most of the big moves
I also
he's made.
just think their roster kind of stinks, and no one wants to talk about
Well,
that.
not only does their roster stink, but the things they are good at, and I think their roster took a, I was high on the Chargers in the past. I think their roster took a massive blow. The things they are good at, he's kind of fighting. He doesn't want, he put Joe Alt at right tackle.
I know.
What are we doing?
And he doesn't want Justin Herbert to throw the ball.
Right. He's not. And it's not he doesn't want him to. He's not going to throw the ball. Like, Herbert's not going to throw the ball. Not that he has receivers to throw it to, because Harbaugh doesn't care about receivers.
Yeah.
So you want to call it Jim Harbaugh, you want to call it the Chargers, you want to call it Justin Herbert, whatever, biggest disappointment, whatever the hell's going on out there in L.A.
I could not agree with you more. The people that I
Oh,
hear,
was this your pick?
No.
Okay.
But I disagree with it.
Okay.
I cannot understand the whole Jim Harbaugh is just going to turn the Chargers around take is something that happened a decade ago in San Francisco. Like, that's what we're going by, right? Like, he hasn't been in the NFL in a decade. And that's what we're basing this off.
And even that was like, I don't want to say fluky, but like they kind of had lightning in a bottle
with Kaepernick.
With Kaepernick.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how that Colin Kaepernick had a very unique skill set. That was not something you can duplicate.
So at Michigan,
certainly not with Justin Herbert.
At Michigan, he was able to be an old school football team still because they would recruit offensive linemen and stuff like that,
Right.
and they were just bigger, badder, and tougher than every other team they played.
Top 3 offensive line pretty much every year he was there. Also Connor Stallions, but
That doesn't work in the NFL. Like, you can't. The playing field is too even, is my point, right? Like, you're not going to be Michigan going up against freaking Purdue and just like running them over, right? Like, that's not going to happen at this level. So I'm totally not sold on Harbaugh turning the Chargers around, especially this year. Like, maybe he does it over the course of 3 years, but I'm so shocked by how much Chargers buzz there is, like, just because Jim Harbaugh is back in the NFL.
I don't think he gets 3 years. I don't. And I know those college punishments are pending, but he'll go do media or something. Like, I'm not totally backing off my one and done take, but my take was he was going to do 1 year with the Chargers, then go back to college football. Essentially, kind of pull an Urban Meyer and go back to college football. Okay, so I guess I'm saying he's going to pull an Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
1 year and then back to, I don't think it'll be that bad, but 1 year and then back to media.
Okay, biggest Patriots disappointment? Do you have one?
Biggest Patriots disappointment? Yeah. Am I beating a dead horse if I say the offensive line? Like,
so I wrote down the offensive line.
I mean,
yeah,
I don't,
the entire offensive line.
I feel like disappointment implies some element of surprise or unexpectedness, and that's not there.
The other one I wrote down was Taekwon. I know I'm going to be disappointed. I know he's going to let me down. I know that I just hyped him up all summer long, and I know I'm going to have pie thrown in my face. Like, you know that Taekwon is not actually breaking out. Like, you know that. Like, we all know it.
I know. I need to know that you know it.
I
don't know that
it.
you know
It's going to be disappointing. I'm going to be sad. So I put Taekwon.
All right.
My NFL disappointment,
Yeah.
the New York flipping Jets. I think the New York Jets are going to Jets so hard. I'm not saying that they're going to necessarily be awful. Like, it's not going to be the situation.
Well, they won 7 games last year without Rodgers.
Yeah, so I'm not saying they're going to be awful.
Yeah.
But they're not winning the Super Bowl. They're not.
No, okay, I'm with you on that.
Like, they're not winning the Super Bowl. They're not going to be the number 1 seed in the AFC. They're not winning the AFC East.
That's right. Disagree.
They are going to be a wild card team. They're going to be disappointing. I'm not wishing injury on anybody with Rodgers or anything like that, but we're talking about like a 41-year-old man coming off a torn Achilles. Like, they have a ton of roster talent. There's no doubt about it, but I just am not sold on that team or that coach.
I think the Jets are going to look like a wagon in the regular season. I don't know if they're going to have the top overall seed, but they're going to win, I think, at least 12 games, 13 games. Everybody's going to buy in. Rodgers' redemption story is going to look great, and then they're going to play like the 3rd place AFC North team in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
And lose.
All right.
That's my prediction for the Jets. They will be a wagon in the regular season and then one and done.
The Jets, our entire lifetime, have found a way to jet at some point. I am not going to believe that the Jets are not going to jet until they don't jet.
But being jet isn't necessarily like just sucking. That to me is more
correct.
Like the Bills or the Browns or the Lions. The Jets is they got to get their fans' hopes up before they crush them. And this Jets team can't just get their fans' hopes up by winning 4 or 5 games. The thing with the Jets is the fans' hopes will always be up before they come down. And the only way they're getting that high up is if they win the division. So they will go up, and then who am I looking at here? And then maybe to your Bo Nix point, rookie Bo Nix in an 8-9 Broncos team sneaks in as the 7th wild card or the 6th wild card and goes to New York and just lays a beat down on him.
That's Jets jetting. All right, we got to wrap, but really quickly, do you want to just do our division winners, like kind of rapid fire here? I know we aren't usually good at that, but
yeah,
let's try it.
Well, we got in here 10 minutes late, so
yeah, that's true. That's true. But I don't want
to keep Matt too late.
Yeah,
I feel bad. But,
okay, let's do it. Go ahead.
Well, all right. I guess you want to start AFC East. I just said I think the Jets. I think it's close. I do think the Bills can be there, and maybe it comes down to a tiebreaker. I'm not as high on Miami. Do you know Miami's record with Mike McDaniel against teams that are 500 or finish the year 500 or better?
Wait, say that again?
Under Mike McDaniel, last 2 years, what is the Dolphins' record against teams that finish the year 500 or better?
Oh, it's terrible.
It's 5-10.
Yeah.
So I'm not counting on the Dolphins because they're going to have a harder schedule this year. I think
Agreed.
it's Jets and Bills neck and neck. The Jets have kind of had Josh Allen's number, so maybe that head-to-head tiebreaker comes in.
That is true. I'll give you that.
So I think, do they both win 12 games? Maybe, but I think the Jets win the division close.
So I know that you are supposed to pick teams that didn't win the division last year because that's like it never happens.
No, you can
2 years in a row. But I just feel as though the AFC, I just have a tough time picking. I mean, going against the division winners from 23.
You drooled all over the Bills. Like nobody's going to expect you to come out and not pick them to win.
No, I just mean the whole conference.
Oh,
though.
okay.
Like I have a tough time seeing it going a different direction in every division.
I think there's only. Oh no, I think I picked all the. Yeah, no, I think I did the same thing. Ravens.
Yeah, I got the Bills in the AFC East.
Yeah,
for obvious reasons. In the North, I like the Bengals.
Yeah,
but I do feel as though the vibes are a little off in Cincinnati right now with the contracts and all the like. Everybody wants their money now. And Jamar Chase, is he playing? Is he not playing? Is he extended? Is he not extended? T. Higgins is unhappy. He doesn't have a deal. I just don't. There's too much uncertainty.
I will say this.
Cincinnati.
I think the Ravens win that division.
Yeah.
I think that division has 3 playoff teams.
Cleveland being the third.
Cleveland being the no. Oh no, sorry, I don't. I have 2. The Pitt. No.
Just
Correct
2.
that. Just 2. Yeah.
Yeah. I have Baltimore winning that division. I just think that they're the class of the division right now.
All right, so let me ask you this. We just kind of gave it away. We both picked the Texans. We both picked the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Which team has the narrowest grasp on repeating? Which team is in the most trouble in terms of repeating?
I would probably say Buffalo.
Okay.
Just because I do think the Dolphins and the Jets are also 2 really playoff caliber teams. So if you're right and it goes that direction, but I also feel as though the Texans.
It's the Texans.
Yeah, I think a team like the Jaguars could bounce back. I could see the Colts.
The Colts is mine. Like if Richardson's a guy, if Richardson justifies that pick, they got a really good roster there. I think the Texans are in the most trouble, but I also picked the Jets to win.
So we had the AFC repeating. You had the Jets instead of Buffalo.
Outside of the Chiefs,
I
don't know that the AFC West has a team that wins more than 5 games.
Right. I mean, that's why I said off the top that when I picked these for the AFC, I was like, I mean, I guess in the South that maybe somebody could push the Texans, but like in reality, the Texans have the best team. Like it's hard to envision.
I think the Colts are kind of right there with them if Richardson justifies the pick.
Right, but Stroud is like already justifiable stamped.
No, so
it's like
if Richardson looks like a quarterback worthy of a top 5 pick, you get what I'm saying?
I hear you.
Then in my mind, the Colts and Texans are kind of equal.
Okay.
If Richardson plays that level, which is no guarantee, I want to like the Raiders. I do, and I think Pierce was the right hire. That quarterback situation is just a disaster, and I also think Devontae Adams is totally checked out.
All right, NFC. I did have some different teams in the NFC.
I did too.
NFC East, I went with the Eagles.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on in Dallas. I'm a Dak guy.
Yep.
I don't know what's going on in Dallas. I don't know what the heck Jerry Jones is doing down there. It seems to me like keeping guys like Dak and CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons should be an absolute no-brainer for a team worth as much as the Dallas Cowboys, and yet they're making it 10 times more difficult than they need to. Mike McCarthy is still a giant question mark there at head coach. Yep. I just like the Eagles a little bit better right now.
I don't like the vibes in Philly either, though. There was that whole thing about Sirianni and Hurts didn't get along.
I know.
I picked the Cowboys. I kind of feel the same way about the NFC East I do about the AFC East.
Yeah.
Bills, Jets, Cowboys, Eagles. It's going to come down to the wire. I'll take the Cowboys on the fringe, but I'll tell you this, like the Jets, Cowboys not winning a playoff game.
NFC North, this is one of my differences. I'm taking the Pack.
Is this the best division in football?
If Minnesota is like decent with their quarterback situation, then yeah, probably.
I took the Packers too. I know you want the Lions to implode. I think they take a slight step back, not a massive one.
I don't think they implode, but I'm with you.
Yeah, they won 12 games last year.
Yeah.
I think they're probably more like a 10-win team. I think the Packers take a big step. I still think they're one step away from like Super Bowl contender.
Yeah.
But I think they win that division. But that division should have 4 teams all over 500.
Yeah.
Assuming Darnold doesn't puke all over himself. And we both think they should have traded for Mac Jones.
I just, at some point with the Lions, the book will start to get out on the Lions a little bit. Like Jared Goff cannot keep doing this. Like all he does is run play action at a high level, and that's the only thing that he does well. At a high level, I should say. It's not the only thing he does well. It's just the only thing he does at an elite level. And eventually that's going to find its roots, just like it did with the Rams, right? Where it's like we only have so much of a ceiling with this situation. So I took the Packers. I'm a Jordan Love guy. I just love what they've built on that roster, too. They're just a really good roster-building team.
This was also the division I was thinking 3 playoff teams.
Yeah.
NFC Central, not AFC Central.
North, you mean?
North, yeah. Jeez, what year is it?
Yeah, right? NFC South. I got the Dirty Birds, Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah. I don't think Baker can match what he did last year. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
But the Falcons have a really good football team. The reality is, even if Kirk Cousins is kind of struggling coming off that Achilles, you mentioned Aaron Rodgers, you don't know what that looks like.
Your boy's waiting in the wings.
Michael Penix might start games this year.
Yeah.
And I like that. I feel good about that. They also have a coaching staff that's going to recognize that Kyle Pitts is on the roster.
Yeah.
As much as I make fun of you for the whole, you're doing Tyquan again thing.
Yeah.
I'm the worst with that. We don't talk about it because we're a Patriots show. I still believe in Kyle Pitts.
You should.
Hand up. I still believe. It is September 5th, 2024. I still believe Kyle Pitts can be an elite tight end in the NFL. I don't think Arthur Smith knew how to use him. Hopefully Raheem Morris, this new offensive coaching staff, does. I have the Falcons, then the Bucs. The Saints are a sneaky first overall pick team for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I really feel like the Saints are in at least top 5, bottom 5, or whatever you want to call it, top 5 of the draft.
They've been somehow able to hover around 500 for years, the final few years of Breeze, post-Breeze. You know, they've kind of really done a number on the salary cap, things like that. That whole bill has to come due eventually.
So the Falcons, just to wrap this up, I am really bullish on the Falcons like everybody else is. Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Kirk Cousins at quarterback, or maybe Michael Penix at quarterback. That is an offense.
That's a great offense. And they got a good line, too. They got a really good line.
It's a good offense.
And their defense is pretty good. Judon's a great addition for them.
Yeah.
I still like A.J. Terrell. I know he kind of had a rough year last year.
It's pretty tough to find a skill position group better than the Falcons right now.
Yeah.
Like, they have dogs all over
That's
the
going to
place.
be everybody's like, oh, my sneaky Super Bowl pick.
Yeah.
That's going to be it.
All right, NFC West 49ers.
Yeah, this division could be sneaky bad. The Rams are one Matthew Stafford injury away from Jimmy Garoppolo playing quarterback, and that means they're 2 weeks away from Stetson Bennett playing quarterback. I think the Seahawks are headed towards a rebuild, and I just still don't believe in the Cardinals. I still don't.
Yeah.
Harrison doesn't change anything.
I do think the Cardinals could be like sneaky competitive, but like it's like an 8-9 sneaky competitive. We're not talking about them actually being
The Niners will dominate the regular season as they do, and then Kyle Shanahan will have to prove me wrong.
All right, well, what's your Super Bowl pick then?
It's going to be the Chiefs because I just don't see how anybody got better enough to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But my Super Bowl pick is Ravens over Niners. So this goes back to my Lamar Jackson take.
Yes.
I don't know that Derrick Henry has to be great in Baltimore. He just has to absorb hits because I think this is the first year we're actually going to see a relatively healthy Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. And I think they're going to take advantage of that. I think the Chiefs, the Bills going to come due for 2 deep runs. Physically, there's a lot to ask there. Their wide receiver room is as much of a question as it's been in a few years, as much as I like Worthy. I think a fully healthy Lamar Jackson plus home field advantage puts the Ravens over the top. Kyle Shanahan's going to beat up. I don't think the Packers are ready. There really isn't another team in the NFC that stands out to me. Kyle Shanahan's going to beat up on the tomato cans, get to the Super Bowl, be up 14 points at halftime, puke all over himself. Lamar Jackson gets his ring.
Okay, so I had the same matchup in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But Kyle Shanahan Finally.
7th time's the charm. 8th
Finally
time's the
comes
charm.
to the podium.
9th
and
time's the
Roger
charm.
Goodell says, "Here's the Lombardi Trophy, Kyle. You finally did
Well, they're
it.
gonna need to take
What's it feel like?"
They're going to need to take him out of the straitjacket in order to give him that trophy because they're going to have to tie him up and put him at the back of the bench to make sure he can't botch the clock in the second half.
This is the year. This is the year that Kyle Shanahan wins the Super Bowl.
I thought last year was the year.
This is the year.
I thought last year was the year.
He was in overtime
happened?
against the second best quarterback of all time.
Okay.
It happens.
Oh, I thought 2021 was the year.
This is his year.
I thought 2019 was the year.
I
thought 2016 was the year.
This year, Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers over the Baltimore Ravens. I agree with you there. It's really, I don't think it's ever happened to three-peat, right?
No.
It's never happened. I'm not going to.
Not wins. It's having appearances, not wins.
I'm not going to pick that it's going to happen until it happens.
I mean, look, it's going to be the Chiefs.
Nope.
Nobody got
49ers.
Nobody improved enough in the offseason.
Super Bowl champions, and my guy Kyle Shanahan rides off into the sunset, and you have to eat crow.
And
That's
a
what's
year from
happening.
today, we will be sitting here after the 49ers embarrass themselves again, and Evan will be pounding the desk. This is the year for Kyle Shanahan. He'll have paid Brock Purdy. He'll have paid Trent Williams. This is the year for Kyle Shanahan. It's going to be 2030, and we're still going to be doing this show. This is the year. He's only got 3 years left, Evan. Marvin Lewis is right there in his rearview mirror. He's only got 3 years left.
This is the year. I'm taking the Niners.
Sounds familiar.
Super Bowl. Niners Super Bowl champs. All right. That does it for today. Do you want to take this last call? He called.
Yeah,
we can
at
take
this
Sean, and
point.
then we'll end it. Sean, what's going on? Oh, he's calling back in, I think, Marine. We'll get him on. Really quickly, though, this email, while we wait for Sean to get on the line. Greg is asking, the pictures behind me. I looked behind me. You're probably wondering what the hell I was doing. The pictures behind me, Rob Gronkowski not pictured behind me on this wall. And this is something that I brought up with the boss. And I was like, we have Hannah, we have Ty Law, we have Drew Bledsoe,
Come on.
Drew Bledsoe, Richard Seymour, the GOAT, Andre Tippett, and Stanley Morgan. And I said, we've got to get Gronk on these photos. And I did call Drew Bledsoe Drew Brees.
Yeah.
That was
But who are you
hilarious.
taking off?
That was the boss's response, Fred. That was his response. These are all-time great Patriots,
Yeah.
Hall of Famers. You know, John Hannah, maybe the best offensive lineman of all time. It's tough, but maybe we can rotate or something.
Maybe.
like that
I
and
mean,
get Gronk in
maybe you go pass catcher for pass catcher, Stanley Morgan.
there. Yeah, no offense to the Steamer, but I think that's probably the one you got to take.
You also
out.
have, so you could just push them
We do have a
together.
Brewski one back here, too.
Oh, see, we got Teddy.
You could, yeah. There's not a ton of defense. Oh, yeah. There's 3 defensive guys actually.
Yeah.
You could
And
kind of
Drew-
like.
and Drew Brees.
You could. I'm never gonna forgive you for that. You
I
could
mean,
squeeze them together a little bit more.
It's been a long day. All
You
right,
got room on the edges here.
let's take Sean, and then we'll wrap it up. What's up, Sean? Sean. Hey, what's up?
I think the Patriots should sign Michael Thomas.
Slant boy?
Yeah,
Okay, is that all you got?
yeah.
All right, thanks, Sean. Thanks for the call. Slant boy, is he still kicking around? Like, when's the last time that Michael Thomas? This is Saints, Ohio State.
Yeah.
Michael Thomas has played in the NFL.
Well, he was in the headlines recently because he got suspended. He's gonna miss the first week of the season.
And he's not even on a team.
Yeah, I love when free agents get suspended. He
J.C.
apparently
Jackson also.
played in 10 games last year. Caught
Did
39 passes for
not- I
448
had no
yards.
recollection of that.
Yeah, no, he's been so. This is one I love this take, Evan.
Yeah.
The reason the Patriots were able to trade for Brandon Cooks in 2017
Yeah.
was because Cooks and Thomas basically didn't get along. They both wanted lion's share of the targets, and obviously only one guy can get those. And I said it, and this was after
picked the wrong
Thomas was
guy?
coming off of a massive year. They picked the wrong guy. I stand by that take. Everybody called me crazy in the moment. Brandon Cooks is still a perennial 1,000-yard receiver. He might be a journeyman, but he's a perennial 1,000-yard receiver. Michael Thomas has become a meme. The Saints moved on from the wrong guy. I'm good on Michael Thomas. No,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, I am with you on that. Remember when they would go through those, like Demarius Thomas at the end, RIP?
Yeah.
Seriously, not joking around.
Eric Decker.
Yeah, like they used to. Bill would do that. All
Reggie
the time.
Wayne is kind of the apex of this. Yeah, I'm
Chad
good on
Ochocinco
Michael Thomas.
even was like towards the end there. Joey Galloway, I think, spent the
Joey
camp
Galloway,
with
yep,
the Patriots. All right, that does it for us here. We will be back next week. We're going to talk Obviously, Bengals recap. We'll look ahead to next week, and now we're in regular season mode, Barth. So we're going to be rolling here with actual football to talk about. And like I said off the top of the show, I'm relieved. I am very glad that we don't have to be looking through crystal balls anymore and things like that. So we'll be back next week, probably around the same time, 2:30 on Thursdays. But I got to shout out our friends at Bridgestone. Football season is here, and Sullivan Tire and Auto Service kicks things off in a big way with our exclusive Go Pats tire sale. Now through October 31st, score big with incredible savings on Bridgestone tires. Save $100 instantly with the purchase of 4 eligible Bridgestone tires. Bridgestone, the official tire of the New England Patriots. See sullivantire.com for complete deals. Go Patriots, and easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the New England Patriots. We will see you all next week.
Bye.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.